it stops, no one knows. We're going head into the unknown. Na, 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 na.
Hey, everybody! Happy Wednesday. So I just was getting all my stuff together and I pulled up Twitter and it looks like Bryan Kohberger is waiving his right to a speedy trial, and we will not be having a trial on October 2nd. Dang. Talk about last minute. Says Kohberger is prepared to waive his right to a speedy trial. Judge is asking Kohberger if that is what he wants. Kohberger has responded with yes. Judge says, "You sure you want to do this?" Kohberger says, "Absolutely." What? He had until September 8th to waive his right to a speedy trial. This freaking guy. Hi, everybody. Let me say hi to everybody. Hi, Pointer Lover. Hi, Not That Nikki. Hey, Angie. Spicy Sugar. Hey, Candace. Hey, K-Braze. Everybody say happy birthday to K-Braze. Hey, Stephanie. Hey, sexy wild thing, Carol freaking Claus. And Stephanie and Petunia and Morgan. It's been a while. You're actually here live. Hey, Tamara. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Ava. Little Cause of Tea. Misty. Will B. Hey, Combat Vet Price. Natasha. Hey, Rexy. Hey, Serendipity. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. VR, I saw you up here a while ago. Hey, Sweet Caroline, I don't know if you made it back yet. Hi, everybody, if you're just popping in. Hey, Peppermint Tea. Oh, momentum was definitely in his favor, Wheel B. Let me turn my camera on. Oh, my gosh. I was really starting to think we were going to see a trial come October. And now I'm like, wow. He really was cutting it close there, wasn't he? So I was looking for any updates. Let me see if there's anything else. Let me see. I can't believe him. I mean, I can. Hi, Fine Summer's Truth. So basically, it is he said that he wants to waive his right to a speedy trial, which means that we now don't have a trial on October 2nd. That means that this will go on forever. And I'm going to tell you guys just a secret between me and everybody listening. I really wanted a trial in October so it would shut down some of the craziness around the case and just have some closure where people could have the answers that they've been looking for. Now it's going to go on forever. Oh my gosh. Yep. Now, hi, Angie. Now the families are just going to have to wait. It's all a game. Yep. So if we talk about like the speedy trial aspect of things, if you think about it, and like Wheelby was saying, like the momentum was working in his favor because what happens now is the prosecution has more time to actually put their case together. Not only do they have more time to put their case together, they have more time to look for additional evidence, such as a murder weapon. So this is actually better for the prosecution. It gives them more time. They can find more witnesses. They can look for more information, so on and so forth. Hi, Hossein. And can we talk about what would be the reasons he would benefit from that? Well, their defense strategy. So his benefit would be that he has more time to create a better defense strategy than what this whole alibi, because he also had to be able to say, was it September 8th or September 15th? I'd have to look at my paper. Hold on. He had to turn over any like surveillance that was going to prove that he had an alibi, or any witnesses that was going to prove that he had an alibi. And now, that's all these dates are going to end up changed. He's not going to have these requirements, so soon. He's going to have more time. So I'm just going to keep refreshing Twitter because, like I said, that was literally fresh. As the intro was playing, it posted on Twitter. And I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, I'm trying to see if anything else. October 2nd trial date has been vacated. Trial will not happen on October 2nd. The defense says they are not prepared to set a new trial date yet. So we do not have a new date. Hi, BG. Pointer lover. Yeah, he has no alibi. So is this also going to give them the chance to hopefully, I mean, maybe they can go look for surveillance from that time? If they haven't done that already, that's dumb on their part, but whatever. I mean, I would think that Ann Taylor would already have her investigators searching for all of that. Yeah, let the madness continue. Her strategy, I really think she's good. She has to have something up her sleeve. She's going to have to come up with a different defense. They were going with this alibi defense, and they don't have anything to back it up. Him saying, hey, I was just out driving around, but nobody saw me, and I'm not on any surveillance cameras that put me somewhere else. But yet the prosecution has all these surveillance cameras that put me right next to this crime scene. Not only do they have me right next to this crime scene, they have my phone next to the crime scene. They also have my DNA at the crime scene. How long are we thinking? Well, I'm thinking 2024 easy. I can't believe it. I mean, I can. I'm just still kind of like, what the hell? Yeah, it would have, Misty, it would have been, so they were anticipating a week of jury selection starting at the end of September, trial to last approximately 4 weeks going into the beginning of November, and then they were going to have 2 weeks for the sentencing, which would have put the sentencing into the 1-year anniversary of the crimes. Hey, Todd. Hey, Crime Sleuthin'. Just saw the tweets about Brian Unreal. I know. The poor families. I know. I just am so. I don't know, I'm kind of just like, I don't even know what to say at this moment. There's going to be a lot of people that are happy, and then there's going to be some that are like, we wanted this to be done and over with. Candace, when this was happening today, so she threw this status hearing kind of on like right at the end. Hey, Mike. Yeah, but that's all scratched now, though. It'll all have to be reevaluated. Yeah, it'll all have to be reevaluated and calendared. Yep. So going into this with this status hearing on her last, at the one on the 18th, when she threw up like this, she wanted to have a status hearing like soon after he denied her second stay. A lot of people were speculating that he was going to go ahead today and waive his right, especially because there was such a deadline on it, and there's not a lot of time from now till then for him to be able to do it. Oh yeah, another shit show. Absolutely. It is true. Yeah. I mean, let me show it to you. Here, I'll post it. I'll bring it up. I'll bring up the X, the Twitters. Like I said, I logged into Twitter and I was like, okay, or whatever you call it. You know what I'm saying? I logged in and I was like, all right, let's look for an update while the intro plays. And I pulled it up and that was like the first thing I saw. I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. Okay, so here's, oh shit. What did I just do? There it is. Okay. Looks like 11 minutes ago, Brian Koberger's waiving his right to a speedy trial. Trial was set to start October 2nd. He had until September 8th to waive his right, pushing things back, likely significantly. Let's go to Natalie Grant and see what she says. The state has no objections to, oh wait, I guess it was a little bit longer than 11 minutes ago because mine hadn't refreshed. Hi, everybody who just popped in. Shouldn't tell you a time. Oh, 2:21. So yeah, a little longer than that now. So the state has no objections to his waiving, saying they would like it to be resolved sooner than later, but this is the smartest option. Judge says it would be a lot to put together before October 2nd, and he wants everyone to be fully prepared. For clarification, this means the trial will not be happening on October 2nd. The defense says they are not prepared to set a new trial date. Defense says they are hoping to see their September 1st hearing date. They're hoping to keep their September 1st hearing date because they are prepared to file challenges against the grand jury indictment. They are also filing 2 motions against cameras in the courtroom and what happens to witnesses after they testify. Defense, we don't want cameras. We don't want cameras. Yeah, so every deadline that they put out, so all the stuff that dropped yesterday, and that one we already knew it was coming because they stated it in the 18th hearing, but all those dates are done. The only one that has been kept is the September 1st date. So the defense would like to hold off on scheduling the trial until after the September 1st date. The trial has been vacated. September 1st date is kept and court is adjourned. Yeah, it's perfect timing for the live, right, BG? That's crazy. Hey, Caffeinated Cat Lady. I missed so many of you guys coming in. Hey, Celie. Hey, Lynn. Right, yeah, who does that? Hey, LFT. Hey, Thistle. Oh, yeah, she does not want cameras in there. She hasn't ever wanted the cameras in there because, you know, she's like, they just zoom in on my client. They just want to see what he's doing. And I actually thought that on the hearing for the 18th, I thought it was pretty fair. They zoomed in on almost everybody. They zoomed in on Bill Thompson. They zoomed in on Ann Taylor. The other attorneys at the tables, they zoomed in on the witnesses. They zoomed in on the judge. They zoomed in on Brian. I didn't find anything like too uncalled for. But I know a few other people were like, yeah, the cameras were like just focused on him. And I was like, I didn't really see that. So there's benefits to both. There's benefits to both. For me, I always have thought, one, if you're being questioned, get an attorney. So I still think the state has possible problem with genealogy DNA, in my opinion. Jules had an excellent video yesterday. I'll have to watch it. Did she talk about STR and SNP's Wheel B? So I've always said, like, obviously, if you're being questioned, get an attorney. I don't care whether you did it, you didn't do it, get an attorney. That's my number one. But I always thought if I found myself in this type of position, that I would not want to waive my right to a speedy trial either, because you would want them to have less time to be able to build a case against you. But if I think that the issue is being guilty, she's going to need more time to be able to figure out how to present a defense that makes him or presents with reasonable doubt. Hey, it's True Crime Crazy. Hey, True Crime Crazy. Hey, Kentucky Lee. It's a catch-22. It really is. I'm now shocked. I would have thought that he would have already waived if he was going to. It seemed like the closer we were getting, the more he felt secure in what he was doing. And his prayers for Tia's husband. He had to have his procedure today. Have they said if it is a death penalty case? Oh yeah, this is absolutely a death penalty case. And then Idaho has passed the new legislature that they can actually use a firing squad. They brought back the firing squad because states are having such a hard death penalty states are having such a hard time getting the medications that are actually needed to be able to do lethal injection. And so a lot of them are either just putting off doing, any death dates, basically. Or now they're trying to bring back the firing squad like Idaho did. So that would cause the whole big controversy because of the hearing on the 18th. Kaylee Gonsalves's aunt actually wore in. Did you guys already see this? I know if you guys watched ATS last night, she did a whole thing on it too. The aunt actually wore a shirt that was like pro. It was like, justice for Kaylee, and it was pro firing squad. Oh yeah, trial could definitely be 2 years down the road, no doubt. I mean, look at the other trials that have gone on. Typically, now that we don't have COVID, that's really holding back our court system, which we did during like Lori and Chad, which pushed those out so much, and then her incompetency and so on. Yeah. Hey, Dolly Bear. Wait for a minute. Sorry, T, but thank you for going live. I'm going to try to catch up. Peace and blessings to all of you in chat. Oh yeah, well, we just started. It just happened. I was doing my live today, and I was like, let's kind of see if we can get an update at the same time. I wasn't even sure they were going to have a lot of press in there. Is anybody talking about it yet? Like, News Nation and all of them. Oh, I can't lose that. I'll have to. I can't believe it. Sucker. Brian's attorney and Taylor requested a status conference. Brian Koberger is requesting to waive his right to a speedy trial. Taylor said the counsel will not be ready effective by the originally scheduled October trial date. Judge accepts the written waiver of a speedy trial. Taylor said the defense is not prepared to select a new trial date at this time. And then Brian Enton tweets, Brian Koberger just waived his right to a speedy trial. His trial will no longer happen in October. All right, let me see if I can pull up YouTube and see if anybody's reported on it yet. I'd be very interested. Ah, crud. Sleuth Mom is live. I don't know if you guys have been following this case. I've been posting it in my Facebook group, and I'm totally changing the subject here. I'm really sorry. Josiah Mitchell, he's the little 2-year-old boy that his dad said was kidnapped during a car heist or what. I don't even know what they would say, but it was saying like a carjacking, but like it was like these people had all these guns and whatnot, and he said the little boy was kidnapped. They ended up arresting him for lying to police because obviously his story didn't add up. So Sleuth Mom is live and said they found him. They found him deceased. I think he's so cute. Dang it. That poor mom. Dang it. I'm going to have to watch that in a little bit and figure out what happened. I know this morning they were emptying out like a pond in the neighborhood. Oh, Ashley, they found him in a trash facility. They didn't find him in the pond. Hold on, let me just pull it up really quick. I know that's not the topic that we're talking about, but it was a case that I was looking at and just kind of keeping an eye on. I was really hoping they were going to find him alive. Where are they reporting that he was found? Like where are they talking about it? Because looking on here, I don't see any news. Just that they were emptying the. Look at your community page. Okay, honey. Let me go look at your. I don't even know what I went on YouTube to find something, and then I saw that, and now I'm just like, Damn it. So tired of these people killing these babies. Police have found a body in a garbage facility in East Point that they believe to be 2-year-old Josiah Mitchell. So WSB TV. Well, like you have an article there, but how come I can't? How come I can't click on it? Okay, so you have it on Twitter. Let's go over to Twitter, and you've got it. And you guys are probably talking to me in chat and telling me a way easier thing to do, and I'm so not looking at you guys right now. Give me 1 second. Seeking. I don't think I follow this person. Yeah, this one. This one. Let's give him a follow. Okay, here he is. Isn't he cute? Look at his cute little face. Police find body that could be missing 2-year-old whose father claimed that he was kidnapped. The police are investigating if the week-long search for Josiah Mitchell has come to a tragic end. Authorities confirmed to Channel 2 Action News that they have found a body that could be Josiah at a garbage facility in East Point. They have not yet confirmed the body to be him. Josiah was reported missing on Wednesday night after his father, 23-year-old Artavius North, said he was kidnapped during an armed robbery. Shit. His little face. That just pisses me off. I just can't. This is this guy's dad. And he gets visitation and he takes the baby, and then what does he do? And then he doesn't. Then he tries to say, oh, yeah, the baby was kidnapped. This reminds me of Malia Davis. But it wasn't. That wasn't even her dad. That was going to be her stepdad. But today has been just yuck, man. They had the shooter in Pittsburgh, who I saw before I came live. They said that they did get him. Then there was some craziness going on over in Russia with a plane being shot down. And then I heard some chatter about the possibility of North Korea sending a missile over to Japan. I'm like, holy shit, what is going on today? Now Brian Koberger waives his right to a speedy trial and fucks that all up. Now they find little Josiah, most likely. Today can just, I'm done with it. I quit today. He's so freaking cute. I love this picture of him. This is sad. Just send a prayer to his mama. Quentin Simon. Yeah, I still haven't heard any updates on that from them requesting it to dismiss everything. I know, that's the thing. It's like I just don't get it. Well, I mean, if he didn't want to see the baby, why get visitation? You don't want the kid, what are you doing? His mom wants him. Take him home. Hi, ATS. We're totally off topic right now because I went to go look for something on YouTube and I saw Sleuth Mom Live saying that they found this little man, and now I'm all over the place. Yeah. Prayers for this baby. Prayers for this baby's mama. All right, let's go back to freaking Koberger. Now that I'm all sullen and sad. So anybody that just popped in, Brian Koberger has officially waived his right to a speedy trial. We will not have a trial on October 2nd. And oh yeah, so now to go back off topic again, yes, Sarah Boone's attorney quit. Another one bites the dust. So Sarah Boone's trial, who knows when that's ever going to happen. Her attorney basically says that she's better off representing herself. Yeah, today's I'm just done, man. This is dumb. Okay, so Koberger. Well, what I was gonna do the live on. Let me just get it, make sure everybody's here, everybody's caught up, and we're onto the same track. And I just need a minute. Oh yeah, Shay Bay sent me that about her attorney quitting. Said here, I'll show it to you. Sarah Boone's attorney has filed a motion to withdraw from the case, saying that Boone's best option is to represent herself. This is the latest in a string of attorneys who have withdrawn from representing Boone. She is accused of zipping up her boyfriend inside of a suitcase, leaving him there to die. Her trial is set to begin on October 2nd. Hey, Tamara. Oh, 11 months. Dang, girl. Yeah, I think we all just need a minute. I just need a minute. Does anybody want to come up here? Yeah, let me get you guys the link. If you guys want to come up here, I don't know. I'm feeling kind of overwhelmed at this point. I really was just going to go on here and talk about CODIS and all this shit is happening. I don't even know. I'm like, where the hell's the link? I don't know if I even get you guys the link. I can't even text right. I'll drop it if you guys want to come up. If you guys are just joining, make sure that you wish Kay Braze a happy birthday. It's Kay Braze's birthday today. So that's it. We're gonna look at the positive stuff, the good stuff about today. Kay Braze was born this day. I won't say how many years ago. Yeah, I need a bottle of wine, beer, I don't know, something. All right. Happy birthday to Kay Braze. Let me see. Why can't I pin this from here? I just want to pin it. Why can't I pin it from here? Hey, Wendy. I don't even have a Dr. Pepper. I don't even have a Dr. Pepper at this point. Kay Braze is 102. Hey, Sarah. What you missed that Brian Koberger waived his right to a speedy trial. And now we have no trial date as of this time. The next hearing is set for September 1st, and they may possibly have a trial dates around then, to set around then. This is Josiah Mitchell. Apparently they found him in a garbage facility because his dad is an upstanding piece of shit, basically. Right? It gets worse and worse. I have one Dr. Pepper left in my refrigerator because I need to go to the store. So. You did? Aw, that's beautiful. Found on the Ma and Pa Trail, which is where Rachel Morin was found. He found an eagle feather. All right, so none of you guys want to come up and help me here? I appreciate that. Love you guys too. Love you guys too. All right, we'll just go do what we were going to do. Let's get rid of this. We're going to focus on the good things. Focus on the eagle feather. We'll focus on Kay Braze's birthday. Can't wait to see the next letter from Sarah Boone. Mal, you think I care that you're eating? I don't. That would be so cool. Do that. Do that. Yeah, that'd be really cool. All right, let me figure out what was I going on to YouTube to look for when I found the sadness? Does anybody remember that far back? I don't know what I went for. Hi, Dolly Bear. Bye, Dolly Bear. Have a great day, chat. Maybe we'll be able to chit-chat next time. Oh, I was going to see. That's what I was doing. Austin, thank you. Yes, I was going to go see if any of the news outlets were actually updating us with any other information from the hearing today. That's what I was doing. Thank you. Looks like we have one. Ryan Cook. Let's get this back up here. Hey, Candace! Hi!
Hello, how you doing?
Oh, see, somebody loves me.
I was like, oh, I'll come up. I haven't been up on anybody's channel. I usually work third shift, so I actually caught a live. I figured, come say hi.
Hi, thank you. How are you
Cool.
doing?
Doing good. Fixing the kids some food. A little
Oh,
upset we're not having that trial.
I know. What do you think about that? Did you think that he was going to waive today?
I thought he was going to do it. He's not completely stupid. He's not as smart as he thinks he is, but he's not stupid either.
Well, don't you think that it would have actually benefited him to not give the prosecution more time than what they are?
I thought it would have been. Yeah, you would think, but he thinks he's smarter than everybody. I can see him trying to be part lawyer up there, too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that's also part of the suit. Like, I think this is his, like, he thinks, like, this is his time to shine. Like, look at me. I'm like an attorney.
Oh my gosh. Well, he does have that fangirl club that I can't see how or why, but whatever.
They all get one. They all get one. Every single one of them, even the ugliest ones, they all get a fan club. I think that women really like a man that they feel like they have control over, and that person like can't do them any harm.
Why? Because he's behind bars? Oh. Huh. I don't know how I feel about that. Hello?
How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I just wanted to come up and ask, have you seen the Facebook post from the family?
After this? No. Let me go look.
I don't know if they posted after, but yeah.
I saw it before when they said pray for us, because they knew this was coming. There was that's why I said there was a lot of speculation going on around if this was going to happen today. Hi, Mallory. You done eating?
Nope, I'm gonna eat and talk with my mouth full.
Do it.
Hey, Mallory.
Hello.
Yeah. No. The only one I have is that says please pray. Oh my gosh, please pray for our family today. ...
Yeah, they're probably pretty speechless right now. Awful.
I wonder if they went. They had the option to go or to watch via Zoom.
You'd think that hopefully, though, that their lawyers and stuff would have prepared them that this was probably coming, so it wasn't some type of huge shock.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, it still sucks, but...
Oh, man. Well, I'm pretty speechless, and that doesn't happen often.
That's how I feel right now.
Yeah. Well, that's all I wanted to see if you knew of any updates from the Facebook page. So.
I don't. You're welcome to stay, though. You don't have to go. So, Andrew, I didn't share my screen anyway. Let me share my screen with you guys again. Hey, Rainbow Mom. Hey, Ashley. Hi, everybody popping in that I might have missed. If you missed it, Brian Kohberger has waived his right to a speedy trial, and we will not be having a trial on October 2nd. ATS, I'm disappointed. I know, me too. I was saying, I think it was before you got here, I was like, this is just going to make the stuff on social media just even crazier. People aren't going to stop. It's just going to get worse.
Awful.
Okay, so Andrea Burkhart, if you guys aren't familiar with her, she's an attorney. She also has a YouTube channel that she tries to post on quite often, but she's, a busy attorney. So she was actually at the hearing on the 18th and then did a video with a recap. So today she was back in the courtroom. She said, I am here at the courthouse waiting for the status hearing to get started. Everyone is present except the judge. Very empty gallery today. And then next is Brian is waiving speedy trial and asking to continue the trial date. The defense will be moving to strike the death penalty on the grounds that Brian has been required to choose between his right to a speedy trial and effective assistance of counsel.
What?
God.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
Another world of like shit.
Wait.
He is required to choose.
What? Hey,
Wait.
I just had a weird comment. I was wondering if you could verify this or not. I mean, I don't think it's true. I just put up a quick, post thing on my community page about Brian waiving. Somebody commented the judge denied the request. The trial starts October 2nd. Like, I don't think that the judge could deny it. Could he?
He could, but I'm pretty sure that it was proven that he did.
I think that they may be saying because from the 18th, they requested a stay and the judge denied the stay, which meant that the trial was happening on October 2nd. So I'm assuming maybe they're still thinking about the hearing from the 18th where he said, no, we're going on the 2nd.
Because at that point, he hadn't waived his right to a speedy trial.
Right. Yeah, Betty Joe. Yeah, I know. So the defense will be moving to strike the death penalty on the grounds that Brian has been required to choose between his right to a speedy trial and effective assistance of counsel. I'm not sure that those two don't go hand in hand. Otherwise, we'd have a whole issue with the fact of what constitutes the time limit for a speedy trial. And then if you're moving to strike the death penalty, you've now given yourself more time to be able to be an effective assistance of counsel. So if you weren't going to be effective before, that doesn't have anything to do with the death penalty. So she was afraid she was going to lose. It's all just hubbub.
Good grief.
Well, and it's BS too because wasn't it her that came and put the date out there in the first place? And then the prosecution just agreed to it?
The October 2nd date or which one? Yeah, I think that was like during one of the scheduling ones and they were just.
Yeah. Sorry. Dexter says hi.
Hi, Dex.
So there's one of the reporters that are in the courtroom, Alex Caprariello.
And I looked at his thing and I didn't see any tweets.
Yeah, I didn't see anything either. But I keep hearing people saying that it was denied.
Hold on, wait a second.
Thistle, can you send that to me where you see that?
Yeah, okay. We're going to, let me just keep going through here. So that this is crazy. Smoke and mirrors around the entire case. No kidding. What the heck?
Oh my God. Could you imagine how the family's feeling right now?
Wait, the other reporter literally said that the trial will not be happening on October 2nd. Brian Enton said trial will not be happening on October 2nd. Okay, Judge wants a written waiver of a speedy trial. Defense did not prepare one. The judge has obtained one from Odyssey. They may use it. Bill Thompson does not object, states that waiving speedy trial is smart. They are now going over the written speedy trial waiver. Brian has signed it. The court accepts the waiver. Judge advises it's a waiver of both statutory and constitutional speedy trial rights. Defense is not ready to set a new trial today. Defense wants to proceed with 9-1 motion hearing and will file 2 additional motions to be heard on that day. Then meet to discuss a reasonable trial setting. Defense wants to set the trial date once if at all possible. The other motions will be a motion to exclude or limit media, particularly cameras, based on what happened last week. Motion regarding contact with defense witnesses and says that last night, Gabriela Vargas was contacted by 2 FBI officers and interrogated about her testimony. Okay, we're gonna have to come back to
What?
that. Bill Thompson says that after she testified, she had an electronic communications with other IGG practitioners. I don't know what that is. Repudiating parts of her testimony. Repudiating. I don't know what that is. Is that like against it?
Repudiating, yeah, against it.
Like saying that she said something else.
Yeah.
Okay. And Ann says that's not what I heard, and the FBI officers should have to answer to that. Judge vacated the 10-2 trial and all of the scheduling order except for the 9-1 hearing. Dates will be reset after the 9-1 hearing. Judge raises some issues regarding jury selection. Jurors are already requesting excuses. Judge is not deciding any of them, intends to hold them and go through all of them on the record with both sides present. As a nod to the size of this jury pool, Judge states he himself was summoned as a juror for trial. Neither side objects to him excusing himself. Judge was summoned?
Yeah, that's what I was going to tell you, but you just read
That's
it.
funny.
That's funny. Although I bet the defense wants to keep him. Court is adjourned back on 9-1. Okay.
So this is basically what you already said.
This is what everybody has said. The 4 reporters that I have read from have all said that it was done. It's vacated. There is no trial on October 2nd. Hi, everybody who just came in. Hi, Delaney. Hi, RJ. Hi, Iris. Hi, Deetra. Okay, so where is it coming from that he denied it? Who's saying that?
I'm not finding it anywhere on Twitter. I don't know.
Okay, so here's the first news that I have found on it. So let me play this.
Berger was suspended from high school law enforcement program after complaint by female students. Moscow.
This is not that one. Never mind. This is about the new podcast. Never mind. I lied.
I thought that if he was going to waive, I figured he would wait until, like September 7th, just to mess with people.
Okay, hold on. News Nation, Kohberger trial to begin October 2nd after judge denies delay request. This is from an hour ago. This is from, key dates are set for upcoming trial. This is from the 18th. Why are they putting it out an hour ago? I think might be confusing some people. Because he wasn't in
early
court
morning
right an
hours
hour ago.
before stabbing those 4 victims to death. The bodies of 21-year-old Kaylee Gonsalves and Madison Mogan, along with 20-year-olds Xana.
Well, Nicole, they didn't really surprise me much based on the other reporting that we've done. First of all, we've heard from classmates of Kohberger when he was a grad student and he was a TA.
A plate was made, and the teacher reported it.
In Kohberger's life, it seems that she's referencing he had sort of a drug addiction problem during that time.
It appears that he really has
In for a long time. You have to wonder, things
as originally scheduled. I mean, so many experts had speculated it would be delayed just because there were so many facets of the case, possibly delayed until next year, but it will be starting this fall.
Yeah, that seems to be the plan. I'm super interested, Nicole. There's a scheduling hearing that's about to start.
Okay, see, this was put up before today's hearing. So the title is it's going to throw people off because it's from today and it's from right around the same time. But this is before the hearing today. So, yeah, I mean, the title's not necessarily wrong. It's just, this isn't old.
What Twitter account was that you were reading all that from?
Andrea Burkhart's.
Okay.
Which one? Because I read from 3 on here and 4 in my screenshots.
I can't. Would you be able to put her Twitter in the chat or the back chat?
Yeah.
A couple of people are asking me where to read this. That's all.
Well, on Twitter, it's under Andrea Burkhart.
Is it HART?
Yeah, BURKHART. She's the attorney who also has a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I follow her on YouTube. I just cannot find her on Twitter. I don't know why.
I was also reading from, that's the one you sent me about the other case. I read from Natalie Grant, KXLY reporter. And then I also read from Karen Lear, LEHR. And then in my messages, somebody was sending me screenshots from Brian Enton, which I didn't look him up directly, but you can. Andrea Burkhart seemed to have the most, though, had the most info. Court TV has posted the delay. Law and Crime has several posts about it. This is a whole nother debacle that happened today. Yeah, and Brian Koberger just waived his right to speedy trial. His trial will no longer be in October. Okay. Go to Law and Crime. These are old. Law and Crime on Twitter. Where do you want me to go? Yeah, Burkhart was at the hearing, and she's also the most thorough. So,
yeah, that was awesome. I found her. I was putting in her whole name, so I couldn't find her.
Oh, I see. I'm not. I don't know if you. I always just type in the full name. I don't. Maybe you're supposed to just put the handle or whatever.
Yeah, it was just at A Burkhart, not Andrea. So I couldn't find her. Let's go. Where is it? Where is it?
All right. So Mallory, what do you think?
I'm pissed.
Are you?
Well, mostly because my birthday's in October, so I was really hoping to get a really nice birthday gift of more information. And I think it's going to suck. I'll say I was very surprised that it was happening so fast. So now the fact that it's not pisses me off. Dexter, stop it. But I get it, but at the same time, I'm still... I don't know. I came home from work and I found out about the little boy being found. I found out about Sarah Boone. I found out about Koberger trial. And I feel like I just want to go to sleep for the night and like not do anything else.
Once again, I quit the day.
Yeah, that's literally how I feel.
You gave us all the news too.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know until I came on your chat feed.
Well, I didn't know any of this until I came on. This whole live was not supposed to be any of this. So, I mean, yeah, I just kind of got thrown. For a very long time, when people would say, like, do you think the trial will be in October? I was like, yeah, no, like the trial's not going to be in October. Like, it's just not going to be. And then the closer we got and the more hearings that were coming up and with all the scheduling being done, like, what a waste of time that was. And I just was like, I think we might actually have a trial in October. Like, I think I was wrapping my mind around the fact that we were going to have a trial here in a few weeks and like prepping for it, you know? And it's just like, boom, pull out the rug.
Right.
I hope we don't have to wait a couple of years. Like, I hope they're not going to try dragging this out more than it needs to be.
Oh yeah, it'll be years. There's currently in Idaho, they're actually pretty slow if you exercise or if you waive your right, pretty slow.
Don't tell us
I was
that.
looking that up because I was like, okay, what's going to happen if, but oh my God.
That's just great.
Take my anger out on my house and just clean until I feel better. So
my husband would appreciate that. If you're that mad, you should come here.
Or you can come here. I've got 9 people in the house, so I would greatly appreciate it.
So Wheelby said, will this now push off the alibi? Yeah, this will push off the alibi date because the first hearing was supposed to be making sure that discovery was complete. And the 8th was making sure they disclosed all their witnesses and experts. And it was the last time that Brian had the right to a speedy trial, to waive his right to a speedy trial. I don't even know what the hell I wrote here. Motion to... What the heck did I even write there? Disaster? I know how to fix that because I can just go in now. They actually have it up on here. So let's see if they updated. I doubt they've already put the order into.
No, they haven't. They have not. I just refreshed it.
They do have one that I didn't see earlier today, though, which was the reply to the state's objection to defendant's motion to dismiss the grand jury. I didn't see that, but here's the scheduling order. I wonder if they have in here what it was for. Defendant, yeah, it says alibi was September 8th. So if the defendant intends to rely on the defense of alibi, a notice of alibi with the specific place or places the defendant was at the time of the alleged offenses and the names and addresses of witnesses the defendant intends to rely on to establish such alibi is due by September 8th of 2023. That date is now vacated. There is no court date that day as of right now.
So he doesn't have to produce an alibi.
Not yet.
Not
He
yet.
doesn't have to produce that information around the alibi because they needed time to be able to prepare. The prosecution was going to need time to prepare to be able to cross-examine those people, which is why they had to come forward and say, hey, or to go through if they had footage or anything like that in discovery, basically, and to say, hey, this is.
Do you remember the day we all sat there watching Flight Radar, watching him travel across the country when he was extradited, and how that felt like it took forever?
Yeah.
Imagine now how this is going to feel. Waiting for
Oh, boy. Hi, Mo. I just seen you. Sorry, honey.
They haven't actually ruled on her motion for the IGG yet. That's still outstanding. Judge hasn't made a decision on if he is going to try to get them the IGG. It also, if she really, really wants it, this does give her more time because, that was the whole thing is like you have to request it from the FBI, then the prosecution has to get it, then the prosecution has to give it to the defense. And will this actually change his opinion on if he's, or his decision-making process? You know what I mean? Oh yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Yeah, they were like, oh yeah, let's just wait till 9th inning stretch here.
All right, ladies, I'm gonna go ahead and go. Yeah, I do. I feel all antsy, and I'm gonna go clean.
I know. Go clean something, and then head over here.
Yeah.
All right, I'll be listening. But I'm just gonna clean.
Okay, we'll be here.
I've been needing to declutter my office, so I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, I need to get my head back into the game of like what I was actually thinking about before even coming on, and now so I can actually give you guys the info that I wanted to give you guys. Just so thrown. It's so weird to be so thrown over something so silly, but I kind of am.
Well, my prayers are with the family because I can only imagine what they're feeling right now. So, all right, you guys, I'll see you later.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Bye. I'll see you in chat.
Okay, bye-bye.
Rainbow Mom says, if all the YouTubers are going to keep doing Brian and Idaho every day and every night, I'm going to strike. Well, I'm not going to do it every day and every night.
Already then.
Me. I know that Mallory doesn't, and AGS doesn't, and Decipher doesn't, and we switch it up.
Yeah.
So you can stick with us.
I was about to say, I don't think I've been on a lot of people that have been, but I've only been on the people you've named, so.
Yeah, I actually avoid a lot of the channels that are repetitive with Idaho, only because I feel like it's repetitive.
Well, and there's not much. We've literally gone over every little thing. And so if you keep talking about it, it ends up just going into speculation territory. And
A lot of speculation.
yeah, and that's just not a good place to be in that part, because that's when all the rumors and stuff get started.
That's where we're at.
Right. I'm saying, though, if it's going to be even worse, I hope that that even if we end up going to trial in 2 or 3 years or whatever for Kohberger, I hope that they amend the gag order, because it's just going to get terrible.
Oh, that's a great point.
What?
The gag order.
Right.
What
I
about
was going
it?
to ask, which he beat me to it. Like, how are they going to do that with it being so? Do you think they're going to be lenient at all, or be completely
I think
really
it'll
hush on
probably
it?
I think it'll probably depend on when court ends up being. You know?
You think if they push it out to like the end of 2024, which is where I'm thinking it's going to go, I would be surprised if it's January or February. It's either going to be summer or end of 2024. That's my gut telling me that. So it could be totally wrong. But there's a lot that I do believe would have been already released had it not been for the gag order. So you think if they push the trial to like December, January-ish time frame,
Yeah.
which would still surprise me if it was that early,
Right.
they probably would not do anything with the gag order, leave it in place.
I'm
Right.
hoping it's that early. I have a feeling it's going to be longer than that.
Well,
And I hate to say it.
yeah, I still get mad because I saw somewhere, it just popped up on my phone as like a notification. So I'm not exactly sure who said it, because I get just certain people's tweets like sent to my phone. And they had said something regarding how Ann Taylor had said, there's no way that we could be ready for trial by October 2nd. And in my mind, I'm going, then why the hell did you ask for October 2nd? Like, it's
Which
just,
I think she was hoping to have these other things that came into play, the stays that she was asking for, the IGG, which is what I was trying to say on that live the other day, is she doesn't need the IGG. It doesn't do anything for her.
right.
So, and that's what the prosecution says. And then of course they stand up and they're like, well, that's not up to them whether it does anything for us. It's up to us what we choose to do with it. But it was all just so she could try to make things for a stay, for him to have to put a stay on it where it doesn't break the speedy trial time, but it does give them more time to prepare other things. I think if she got like the IGG or whatever else she was even asking for during the stays, I don't know how much she was actually going to go through any of it anyway.
So do you think that she asked? Well, then I guess my whole thing is just like, why ask for it then? If that
To
was
get
never
the
the
stay.
intention.
To see if she could get away with whatever she wanted.
No, I think she needed a stay. I think she wanted him to give her more time. And if the judge ruled that they had to do the IGG stuff, then she would have to have time to be able to quote unquote
to go through it without having to ask for more time.
Right.
Ah, I see.
So, Music City Bomb said, I speculate that Brian might unalive himself. Well, that's an interesting comment, because one thing on that was Andrea Burkhart. Did you just sneeze? Bless you. That Andrea Burkhart had brought up from the hearing on the 18th that
Sorry, yeah.
that his family was either there or there via Zoom, and I don't want to misquote it, but she did say something about like them attending, and she felt like Ann Taylor may have like asked them to come because it wasn't looking good that Brian's family wasn't showing up to any hearings. And so I'm wondering if he isn't really getting support from his family. And the things that are coming out, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention the last few days. There's some stuff that's come out about weird stuff he did when he was in school, and that he got kicked out of the law enforcement program because of the female complaints on it. Are you guys familiar with that? I mean, I can play. That's actually what.
No, I have no idea what you're talking about. Do you? I'm sorry. I feel a little behind.
I've heard a handful of things, but I haven't heard like the details of it. So like the gist of what I have heard is he was a creeper. So but like I don't know the actual details of it. But it doesn't surprise me, because we knew he was kicked out of different places at for different reasons. And I mean, we knew because of the students that he was grading before he got his intern, or not his internship, his what's it called, taken away. They said that he was creepy towards them too. So I don't know.
Okay, I'll pull up some of the stuff. There's one more article that just popped up that Shay sent me about today, so I just wanted to read it real quick.
Okay.
And then I'll pull up the stuff about. So there's a new podcast or newer podcast that has come out about Idaho, and is this going to really not let me read this article? Okay, no, it is. No, it isn't. Is it going to let me read it or not?
I don't know. I just keep on crime. I don't see anything else.
This is Idaho Statesman. Does it not let me read without like a subscription?
No, it should.
It's not. So this new podcast was talking with. So when he was in school, if you guys, I probably anybody who's followed the case has seen like the pictures from high school where he's like in a almost like a law enforcement uniform and he's like working out and so on and so forth. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
If I pull up this article, it'll probably actually help too. He was in a program for law enforcement. So basically it was like, you know, to prep you to go to law enforcement, and
right.
He got kicked out of it. So the program director actually did an interview with the podcaster. Now, I think also probably did one with Brian Enton. I'm not sure. And so talking about that, she can't go into what it was that caused it, but that he was essentially booted from this program because of complaints. And she can't go into it because of the privacy of the students. But essentially, she said, if an adult, like if a teacher was to do this, they would be fired. And so then the same thing is if a student was to do it, they're kicked out of the program. So he ended up going over to like the air filtration program for a year before he ended up dropping out.
Is that air? The air?
Well, that's what his dad is. His HVAC.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why he supposedly has somewhat of a background in that as well.
Correct.
Ugh. Okay.
Yeah. So it's the arrest of a 28-year-old criminologist, Brian Kohberger, in the Idaho student murder case came as a shock, but made sense to a former high school administrator who kicked him out of a law enforcement vocational program, she said in a recent interview. Although program leaders were told that Kohberger's dream in life was to join law enforcement, his struggles became apparent to them early on. It wasn't going to be ending up in the police academy kind of thing for him. And her name is Tanya Carmela Beers. She's a former administrator at the Monroe Career and Technical Institute, which is a vocational high school program. The new podcast is called the Idaho Massacre Podcast. It was going to be a little bit more of a challenge for him to get there. While she said that she couldn't delve into specifics due to the student privacy laws, she said students of the Protective Services Program, the name of the institute's law enforcement curriculum, were held to a high standard. If a student did anything that would get an adult fired from the profession, they were kicked out of the program. So if you would be fired from law enforcement, you couldn't be in this program. So whatever he did would have gotten him fired. Ultimately, what had him removed from the program, when I look back on it now, makes sense. The fact that he wanted law enforcement more than anything else in the world, if you look at it from just that perspective alone, not knowing what this lady knows, you'd be like, I'm so shocked. She said, in the respect I am, but I know another little piece, which is the piece that occurred at the school. It makes sense. Although she said Kohberger took the program extremely seriously, a group of female students reported an issue to their teacher. A complaint was made and the teacher reported it to me and said, this is not something we can have, Carmela Beers told the podcast host. An investigation needs to be conducted. Other students were interviewed, Brian was interviewed, and there comes a time when decisions have to be made, whether it's the decision the student wants or not. The school cut Koberger from the law enforcement program, and he transferred to the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning track instead for a year before he dropped out. She said, I don't think that maybe he necessarily grasped the depth and the breadth of the issue at hand. This is the picture I was talking about right here.
Yeah, I remember
Carmela
that
Beard.
one.
Remember that
Oh,
one?
I remember seeing that picture. He looks creepy.
That's
Carmela
before
Beard
he
did
lost
not.
all of his weight, right?
I think this is when he starts losing his weight. Yeah.
Okay.
Carmela Beers did not immediately respond to a message from Fox News Digital. Despite getting kicked out of protective services, he would later list his time there on a job application seeking employment at the nearby Mount Pleasant High School as a part-time security guard. Although district officials have declined to discuss potential disciplinary actions, his employment there ended in what public records indicate was a forced resignation. On June 22nd of 2021, Koberger acknowledged in writing that I understand that if I do not resign, I have a right to a school board hearing to determine if I should be dismissed from employment within the school district. However, despite his job struggles and a battle with drug addiction, he went on to obtain his master's degree in criminal justice from DeSales University and began PhD criminology classes at Washington State University in the fall of 2022. So then this just goes on to talk more about the crime. So, interesting. And then I know that the one that I just looked at that we were trying to determine if it was, no, it's News Nation. It actually had to do with this. I hate how they put everything on here. I think it's this one.
Oh,
so,
you have even more breaking news for
not to make it confusing, again, this is the one that was put out before the hearing today. So they will be talking about the fact that his trial is going to be October 2nd. We all now know that's not the case. This is before that. So just take that at face value. You guys have any comments before I play it?
Nope, you're good on my side.
for you now. Key dates are set for the upcoming trial of Brian Koberger. He is the man accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students last fall. The judge in that case rejecting the defense request to delay the start of the trial, which will now officially begin the morning of October 2nd in Moscow, Idaho. It is there in the city of Moscow that Brian Koberger is accused of breaking into the student's rental home in the early morning hours before stabbing those 4 victims to death. The bodies of 21-year-old Kaylee Gonsalves and Madison Mogan, along with 20-year-olds Xana Kronodal and Ethan Chapin, discovered inside the home later that day. As the trial nears, we're continuing to learn even more about Koberger and his past. A podcast out just this week in which a former high school administrator of his claims to have kicked Koberger out of a vocational law enforcement program after getting many complaints from other students, specifically female students. So News Nation's senior national correspondent Brian Inton joins us live. Brian, first of all, these are allegations, the latest in a series of allegations. How do they mesh with some of the allegations we heard previously?
Well, Nicole, they didn't really surprise me much based on the other reporting that we've done. First of all, we've heard from classmates of Koberger when he was a grad student and he was a TA, teaching students that he was a harder grader on women and that women had problems with him in the classroom. I've also been to several bars in Pennsylvania that Koberger visited, one of which where he actually got kicked out because of the way that he was treating female bartenders. So it doesn't come as a huge surprise that back in high school, he was in this law enforcement program, basically a training program for people who want to be cops. And he got kicked out, according to the administrator, because of issues that he had with women. That administrator spoke out on a podcast. Listen to what she said.
You know, there were some circumstances that led us to believe that maybe there were going to be some difficulties in Brian's life that weren't going to contribute to him having an easy time of it. You know, like just it wasn't going to be just ending up in the police academy kind of thing for him. It was going to be a little bit more of a challenge for him to get there. So a situation occurred where a complaint was made, and the teacher reported it to me and said, this is not something we can have. An investigation needed to be conducted. Other students were interviewed. Brian was interviewed.
Yeah, this is all very interesting, Nicole, because this administrator has not spoken out until now. So it'll be interesting to see if that comes in during court. Also, you heard her talk about the other challenges in Brian Kohberger's life. It seems that she's referencing he had sort of a drug addiction problem during that time. So that was also happening when he was trying to get into that law enforcement training program.
Yeah, allegations of a heroin addiction at that time.
Yeah.
So, Brian, these latest allegations we know are from his high school days, but based on what he was studying at the time of his arrest, it certainly appears that he really had an interest in crime and law enforcement for years.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we know that just from talking to people who knew him, that he pretty much always wanted to be a law enforcement officer, at least in high school. That's why he was trying to get into that program. Then, he got his master's in criminal justice. He was now getting his PhD in criminal justice. So this is definitely something that he was interested in for a long time. You have to wonder, things started to go in the wrong direction for him. In high school, you heard that. He had issues even recently in the PhD program where they were going to not have him be a TA anymore because of issues he was having in the classroom. So, if all these allegations are true, you have to wonder if some of that, if he had this lifelong dream of working in law enforcement, if that was all sort of going to the wayside, could that have somehow, sparked him to do what he did?
Well, and also then, Brian, just the other big headline off the top of this, the news that this case will start in October as originally scheduled. I mean, so many experts had speculated it would be delayed just because there are so many facets of the case, possibly delayed until next year, but it will be starting this fall.
Okay, we'll stop it there because now that's when they're going to go into the fact that it's going to be starting on October 2nd, which we now know is not the case. Denise, I totally understand. We don't want guilty by public opinion. We definitely want guilty in a court of law, and we want everything to be fair. I thought Court TV did a much better job this last hearing. Did you guys all watch the hearing? I know it was all in pieces, but I thought they did a pretty good job not just focusing on him.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of him on there at all, so I don't know why they were upset.
I think they don't want him focusing on him at all. But here's the thing, then if we're not looking at him, then why does he need to be in a suit? Because isn't that the whole thing? They want him in the suit because of the cameras so that it doesn't, present that he's guilty wearing the orange jumpsuit. They want him to be able to, they want people to be able to see him as just a normal person. Mm-hmm. But then they don't want the cameras on him at all. So then they don't want people to see him as a normal person. It's which one do you want? Put him in his orange jumpsuit and tell the cameras to stay off of him. Right. I don't particularly care to see him during it, but I want to be able to see the witnesses.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be okay with that too, because I didn't necessarily enjoy Lori's trial and Letitia's trial, where you're just literally watching them pretty much.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's obviously aspects of it where you want to see how they're going to react to certain things, but I would much rather even watch the judge or whatever, but I don't know.
I do enjoy watching the judge's face.
Yeah.
I believe all defendants are innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. And I'll be honest with you, Iris, there are some that I think that are even found guilty that I'm not sure are guilty. So, I mean, I can even go on beyond that. In my opinion, from what we know so far, I believe they have the right guy and they're taking the right guy to court to leave that up to a jury. That's what I'll say. I don't think that I'm not in the opinion of that there's a big frame, that there's a big setup. Nothing has come out that it makes me think that he's not the guy they should be putting on trial.
Yeah. That's where I sit too.
Okay, Denise says, what if Kohberger has information about other people's involvement and is going this route was to his best defense? If he actually had that information, this is two-sided. If he actually knows that there's other people involved, it does not discount his involvement then. That's the first issue. So he wants to be exonerated. He doesn't just want to be found not guilty. He wants to prove that he didn't do it at all. But it's not him. And just so far, he's not really doing that with his alibi defense. And like I said, we're not at trial yet, so much more can still happen. But he's not really presenting that. If he actually wanted to take a plea deal and say, hey, me and so went and did this. If I give you so-and-so, will you cut me a deal? I mean, he's had time to make that decision. Like, let's go do it then, if that's what you want to do.
Right. Well, and at this point, he's already put out there potentially the start of his alibi, which is that he's driving around. You know, why would he not have put like, well, I wasn't me, I wasn't there, but hey, someone else was there and I know about it.
A lot of people drive around at that time. Like, it doesn't mean that they're all doing that. So I don't know what he was trying to get by saying, oh, I was driving around. Obviously, they seen him on camera everywhere.
That's what I was saying at the beginning of this. Is like, if he could say, hey, I was driving in Pullman and I went for a drive, or even if I was driving in Moscow, but at a totally different time, just get a different surveillance camera to say, hey, here you are.
Right.
And if you have that alibi, why would you wait until court to show it? You would just say, look, guys, he's over here. I can prove he's over here at Walmart at 3:40 in the morning. There's no way he could get from here at Walmart to there at the time you're saying he was there. If I had that alibi, I would just be like, look at it, and then the charges will just be dropped. We wouldn't even be having the conversation.
Right.
Good point, Thistle. She said, did he specifically say alone? No, I don't think he did.
I actually do. Let me pull it up and I'll tell you. But I do think he did.
Did he? Oh, okay.
He goes for drives alone frequently, but I'm going to pull it up because I just want to make sure that I don't tell you something that ain't true. Now I got to find which one it is. Where are you? When did that come out? Notice of filing in support. That's the new ones.
It was the hang on, I have it saved.
Yeah, I'm looking. I'm on the website, so I have to go through each one of them and figure out which one it is.
I can tell you. Hang on, it was
defendant's response to alibi.
Hang on. Shit! Oh, there's all new stuff. Hang on.
I know. I'm like, it's not this one. Because this is the response that he's looking to be able to get the information. I'm looking, guys. Give me a second.
It was
8-2 objection 1.
objection to state's motion to compel. That one.
This is the objection to the state's motion to compel motive of defensive alibi. Crime Sleuth and hit me up with it. Require an alibi. Here it is. Okay. Mr. Koberger has long had a habit of going for drives alone. Often he would go for drives at night. He did so late on November 12th and into November 13th, 2022. Mr. Koberger is not claiming to be at a specific location at a specific time. At this time, there is not a specific witness to say precisely where Mr. Koberger was at each moment of the hours between late night November 2nd and early morning November 13th. He was out driving during the late night and early mornings. So it says that has had a long habit of going for drives alone, as he did on November 12th into November 13th. So, I mean, you can go one way or the other with that. It doesn't specifically say that night he's alone, but it says that's what he did that night.
See, but that's so interesting too, because didn't his neighbors specifically state he was known for being up and making noise at home during those hours usually?
Vacuuming excessively at that time, I
Yeah.
remember.
So I'm curious, because so far what we've heard from people around is that he was home and he would stay up late.
Yeah. So I mean, it would be a good defense as long as he could just show that he was driving somewhere other than where they're saying he was driving. That's all he really needs to do, is go get some other surveillance footage.
Right.
I would think they would have already done that, but in Northern Light, might be hard to prove that he was driving elsewhere on camera if you have to rely on the police state investigating and pulling all surveillance videos, not only near the crime scene and turning over. Well, defense teams also have their own investigators that can go and do it. Now, here's the deal. The burden of proof is on the prosecution. So does the defense have to do that? No, but they typically will have their own investigators looking into things because they need to be able to find stuff like that. Yeah, using the dishwashing disposal. Yeah, just up at night doing all kinds of weird stuff. In his apartment, separating his trash. Well, we know he did that at his parents'. Maybe he did that at home too.
Right.
Because, I like to stand up and sort my trash and put it into zippy bags in the middle of the night and take it to my neighbors' houses.
Well, I'm wearing gloves.
Yes.
Right. Oh, yes. And walk, in shorts and my Timbs. So, yeah, that's what I do. I mean, I do wear those in the middle of the night in Pennsylvania. That's just what we do. But I don't particularly sort my trash out like that.
I get yelled at if I don't put my water bottles in the right one. I'm not going to sit there and touch everything else.
So a couple of the gals are saying, like, the PCA also talks about him being up at night and him actually driving around that particular area. They have him around that area 12 times around, from the PCA. Yeah, nothing screams innocent like 4 a.m. trash sorting.
We could just have a party doing it.
Invite all my friends over so we can sort the trash. I'll get you guys putting your DNA all over my trash, and then I'll throw it out.
And then I'll have you go.
That's pretty smart.
Trash.
Each of you take a bag home.
Right. Everybody take a bag and throw it in your own trash. Iris, he did have until the 8th, but that hearing is now vacated. So now they're going to have to go through a whole new scheduling. All the hearings except for 9-1 are gone. Everything else is wiped off the schedule.
But 9-1 is, they hopefully will be able to give some sort of a timeline by then, right?
Well, she said that she's hoping to be able to know or have a better idea of when she would like to have a trial date set based on that.
Right.
Hey, drunk turkey. Yeah, trash sorting party. Okay, so we've been on for almost an hour and a half, and I will go back to the whole beginning of what we were actually doing here, and totally thrown off by him just deciding he's just going to go ahead and throw us all for a loop.
Right.
Let's see. Well, if Brian always drives late at night just to random places, well, that's good. That places him out late at night when all these other murders happened to happen. Well, that's true too. But they don't have his DNA at the crime scene, so it's a college town with good restaurants. But are the restaurants open in the middle of the night?
The what's it called is?
Well, the food truck.
Yeah.
Rub
Can you
truck?
imagine?
Yeah, they're like good restaurants.
The food truck. Everybody stands outside eating at the food truck.
I don't know if they're vegan though, so
True.
yeah, I don't know about that. Scrolling Facebook, I just read judge denied waiver. See, that's just so weird, Lucia, because people were saying that earlier too, but he didn't deny it. Where is that coming from?
I think it has to do with the fact that News Nation posted that video, like just the timing of everything.
All right, let's go back. I'll look at the court filings again before I go into the stuff about the DNA. No, there's nothing new from this. Will all probably be posted tomorrow, maybe later today, because it wasn't, but everybody I have read is saying that it's done. There is no trial on October 2nd anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anybody saying that there's still a trial October 2nd. So if you guys have an article or see a stream that we know is after that hearing that is telling you guys that the judge denied the waiver, please let us know, because I'll go to it immediately. But the only one I could find was that News Nation one, and it was before the hearing.
Yeah, because literally in the video, Brian Enton says that he's about to go to the other hearing, or they're about to hear about the other hearing.
Right.
That was today. And this happened today. So unfortunately it's bad timing, but also I think like
it's a bad title is what it is. They need to change that title.
Well, I think it's different if they potentially would have put that title up, 2 days ago.
Right.
But the thing is they posted the video like almost 2 hours ago now, and it's within the time frame of when they're still in court. And since that video was made, he has waived his right to a speedy trial. So that's kind of the difference.
Johnny Creamer, they never ran his DNA through CODIS yet. So now that the case has been laid back to another date, they should run his DNA. They have ran his DNA through CODIS. You're talking about Brian's? Yeah, his DNA went through CODIS. And his dad's DNA went through CODIS.
Mm-hmm.
Here. I am super far behind, but I'm throwing my arms up and giving you and Mallory a huge yes for all the 24/7 Idaho conspiracies. I squint every time I see a thumbnail or a live about it. I know, and then here I am like, let's do a live about Idaho.
Wait, what?
And I'm only here because Teresa started crying at the beginning of the
live. I did a little bit. I was a little flustered.
She did. She had a little meltdown.
I did, and
it's okay though.
Because I appreciate both of you and Crime Sleuth who came up to make sure I was okay, because I was just flustered.
Mm-hmm.
I was really thrown when I went on YouTube and saw Sleuth Mom's live. That really upset me. Plus, on top of this and then all the other garbage from the day, it's like couldn't do it anymore.
Well, if it makes you feel better, pumpkin spice lattes are back at Starbucks.
Yeah, that doesn't make me feel bad. I'm not a pumpkin spice girl. They also have pumpkin spice cookies at the grocery store, and I was like, "What?
I used to not be, but
it's August. This is dumb."
Well, I get an iced one if that makes you feel better.
Yeah, but still, it's not time. It's not time. Give it at least until September. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to talk about was something that I had on the live that we did 2 days ago on genealogy and the difference between STR profiles and SNP profiles. If you guys haven't watched that live, I think it's a lot of information. I tried to relay it to you guys the best that I could. It
was great.
But just as a mini refresher, and I'm not going to go all the way back into it, STR profiles are what is created for law enforcement in a crime lab and is put into CODIS to match to potential criminals, potential unsolved crimes. There's also a category to be able to put family members' DNA in that are family members of missing persons. It's called NDIS-MP, missing persons. So that's where the STR profile goes. The SNP profile is used and only created in private labs. Law enforcement does not create an SNP profile. It is used from the same DNA or created from the same DNA sample. You cannot take STR and make an SNP. You can't take SNP and make an STR. They're They're from the same sample, but it's two different portions of the sample. So law enforcement gets the DNA from a crime scene or wherever. They send it to their lab. They create an STR profile. If there's any DNA left and they want to use investigative genetic genealogy, they take a separate piece of the DNA found at the scene and they send it to the private lab, and then the private lab sends it to the genealogist, whether that genealogist works in law enforcement, whether that genealogist is an independent person like Gabriela Vargas who testified. It's a separate profile. So the STR is what we look at when it's criminal. So when we talk about DNA in a law enforcement situation, you're talking about an STR profile or the actual DNA found at the crime scene. It's the only way you're looking at it in law enforcement. Just everybody got that so far? I know it's uber confusing.
Yeah.
In this case, they found DNA on a knife sheath under one of the victims, and on that knife sheath, they found touched DNA on the button, so basically skin cells on the button of the knife sheath. It's called touch DNA. It's basically somebody touched it and left their skin cells around. Like as I'm touching my desk, I'm leaving touch DNA all over it. Now, I'm not going to get into the forensic side of it because different materials and different fabrics and so on and so forth, it's harder to be able to get a DNA profile or touch DNA off of those types of things. The sheath is not a weapon, but the sheath is the carrier of the weapon used. But that's a whole nother topic. So we know that we know the type of weapon used. We know that they found DNA on it, touch DNA. They took that DNA, gave it to the lab. They created the profile. They put it into CODIS. They did not get a hit, which meant the person was not attached to any unsolved crimes that were in CODIS, or any known crimes that are like felons that have to give up their DNA to put into CODIS. So CODIS is it's the overall name of the system. Now there's different pieces of CODIS. There's NDIS, which is your national database. There's SDIS, which is your state database. And then there's LDIS, which is your local database. All of them can go into the national database. So when you hear like NDIS, SDIS, or LDIS, it's all part of CODIS. And then there's the national database that I was referring to that has the MP afterward. Now, a lot of people were talking about this with Rachel Morin's case because in military, you have to give up your DNA. As a military person, your DNA is being put into a different system. It's like CODIS, but it is not CODIS. So it's not being used to match up against crimes. So there is a database for military personnel, but it's not like if I go and put Brian Koberger's or this unknown person from Rachel Morin's case, if I go put that DNA in, it's not going to match me to everybody in the military. So.
I believe you.
I know. No, people are coming in like, this is just crazy. Why is he waving his right? We're all still doing the same thing. Okay, so does that make sense so far, you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I don't like it, but
Well, I just want to make sure before we go further that when we talk about these unknown DNA samples, we kind of understand what we're talking about. Oh, pointer lover, 7 months. Like, that's crazy. It's just crazy to think I've been around that long. I already feel old enough. ISP lab on touch DNA requires the weapon used in a violent crime and sexual assault. I don't know that to make a comment on it. So I don't want to make a comment on that because I would not have an educated comment to make. If Brian is a real killer and so smart and never left DNA, so his DNA would not get a hit, but what about the match? What about MOs that match his crime? MOs that match his crime? Well, that's different too. So now, is the DNA from these other crimes, was it only put into a state database or was it put into the national database. Those are also questions. But now that they know he's from Pennsylvania, they would have run it against the state databases. Most of all of that information is actually just put into the national database anyway. But it just kind of helps to be able to have like local versus to state to national. So but law enforcement has access to all three. So it's just one big system. ACS News, you're asking me questions I don't have answers to. I don't know the name of their system. It's a military DNA database.
I was about to say, wow, you know all that.
I don't know all that. Crime Story, did you find out more about the qualifications for sending DNA to IgG? As the qualifications legally or the qualifications of the DNA? You'll have to ask me that again because I'm not sure which one you mean. Hey, Merp. Okay, so in the filing, if you guys want to look it up yourselves too, it's the objection to the state's motion for a protective order. So in here, it says by December, you guys see this okay? By December 17th, 2022, lab analysts were aware of 2 additional males' DNA within the house where the deceased were located, and another unknown male DNA on a glove found outside the residence on November 20th, 2022. To this date, the defense is unaware of what sort of testing, if any, was conducted on these samples, other than the STR DNA profiles. Further, these separate and distinct male DNA profiles were not identified through CODIS, leading to the conclusion that the profiles do not belong to Mr. Koberger. So one of the big questions when we were going through this was, well, then what qualifies? Why aren't these put through CODIS? What's the issue?
Right.
So I did some research.
Ooh, okay.
You go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's one of the wordings of things that has always gotten to me, that I've always kind of talked to different people about because of the wording in that, because a lot of people are like, they found 2 other male DNA next to the bodies and stuff, and it's like, no, it just says within the house that the bodies were in. So technically it, under like the way that I looked at it, was more along the lines of just, it was 2 male DNAs of people who did not potentially come forward and was just found somewhere in the house, not necessarily next to the body.
That's how I took it too. Like, I thought it was somewhere in the house, not next to him. Or was it next to him?
That doesn't mean that it couldn't be next to them, but I'm just saying, like, how I had originally read that was that it was just the 2 in the house, just somewhere in the house where the bodies were, meaning in 1122 King Road, not necessarily next to the bodies. And that was always something, because when I first read it, I was like, why is everyone freaking out about this? Of course there's other male DNA in this house. Like I don't know. So
I'd be concerned if there wasn't male DNA or any other DNA in that. That's a party house. I mean, that would mean that they scrubbed it if there wasn't.
Right. Okay, sorry, T. I just wanted to...
No, you're good, because this has been a big question as I've watched like some other streams. There's like the wording here that's funky. It's like that they were aware of 2 additional males' DNA within the house, and then another unknown male DNA. So then people are like, okay, so if these are 2 additionals and this one's unknown, then are these 2 known and this one's not?
Right.
So that was, but it does not specify where. Where in the house. We know the glove only because we know that Chris McDonough is the one that found it, and we know where he found it outside.
Right.
But we don't know. So did they find 2 male DNAs like on beer cans? Did they find it on the fridge handle? So that's a very important piece of what makes that DNA qualify to be able to enter into CODIS. So,
well, yeah, and I think too. Shoot, now I forgot what I was going to say.
No.
When I talked about this beforehand, it always came to my mind the fact that if this was legitimately a party house And how many times I've been to parties and I could not tell you where the house is, for people to potentially be like, I didn't even know I was at a party at that house, to know that I had to go give my DNA to like exclude me and something like that. And that being a possibility as to why they're not like within and why they haven't been excluded, because it could have potentially just been someone that didn't realize that they were at that specific house. And I mean, it could be literally anywhere. It could be someone that worked on the furnace or something like that. You never know.
Because we don't know where the DNA was found. I think that's
Correct.
a really big idea. That's a big
Yeah.
part of the whole thing. Also, and I don't remember if you were still up here the other day when I was talking about it. There was the case where the lady was killed in her apartment, and they got DNA from the apartment, and they matched it to a guy, and they went to go arrest him. And when they found out that he was actually the prior tenant of the apartment.
No, I wasn't here for that, but that's kind of my point, is how many
Wow.
people have also lived in that house in the crevice that they haven't touched, but now it's obviously being double, triple, quadruple looked at because obviously there's a murder there.
Yeah.
You know?
And how clean was this house? I mean, once again, we don't know where it was found, and that's going to play a huge role into the entire part of it. Is where was it found? Was it found in Bethany's room? Was it on Bethany's door? Where was it found?
Right.
And that's how are you guys coming in? So it does, in my opinion, it does not mean that they know these two, because it says, and another unknown male DNA on the glove found outside the residence. And then it says these separate and distinct male DNA profiles were not identified through CODIS. Well, we know, that's why I want to play these before I go too much further, just so everybody knows why this is even a topic.
Yeah.
So I found the two parts of the hearing that I was struggling to find yesterday, or not, it was yesterday, the day before, whatever day it was. And now I'm live way too much, and I don't even know what I'm live about anymore. So I want to play these two parts for you guys in case you missed them. Hold on, I'm going to turn it off so it doesn't so I don't echo. And this is from MB Inc. again, the same one I used the other day.
Get too far into this is what the law requires. Okay. Thank you. So call your first witness.
Your Honor, if I may, one point of clarification. It occurred to me while listening to the court talking about genetic genealogy and really that being a focus. There are a couple of other areas contained in the motion to compel that have to do with the other DNA that the state doesn't have complete discoveries to us that are included in that third motion to compel that are up for today. The big focus is then the genetic genealogy piece, but I wanted to make sure that was still in the scope.
Well, my understanding was that the state did provide all the information about the laboratory, we'll say the laboratory DNA that was, that analysis was not related to the genealogy DNA. Am I mistaken about that? What are you saying that they didn't provide to you?
Your Honor, in our third motion to compel, we had a section called standard lab discovery, and that has to do with other DNA profiles found at the scene. They have provided full discovery for the sheet, the DNA found on the knife sheet, but not.
Okay, so I'm going to pause it frequently because I want to make comments so that you guys, it doesn't get too convoluted. So she just said we have all discovery that has to do with the sheet. They've provided us with all discovery that has to do with the sheet.
The other 3 unidentified male DNA samples, 2 from within the house, 1 from outside of it.
All right. So if I'm understanding your question there, or your assertion that we're talking about 3 potential analysis of DNA that was not provided to you, but that has no connection to Mr. Kobe.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so that DNA was tested, as we saw in her document. It was tested. They do have an STR profile. That STR profile of those 3 unknown male DNAs does not match Koberger. We know that because it has no attachment to him. So just making sure we're going with all the pieces that they're saying.
Any response?
Your Honor, we didn't realize this was going to be an issue today. We had given the defense everything that we received from the lab. They've asked for DNA workups on other people to the extent that they don't have them.
Okay, here we go. They've asked for DNA workups on other people, and we don't have them. He is not referring to the 3 unknown male DNA. They asked for workups on other people. Well, we can't just go around testing everybody. That's not how it works. So they don't have DNA profiles for the people that they're requesting, that the defense has requested.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, did you guys all hear that part? I'll go back just a tiny bit.
Potential analysis of DNA that was not provided to you, but that has no connection to COVID.
Correct.
Okay, any response?
Your Honor, we didn't realize this was going to be an issue today. We had given the defense everything that we received from the lab. They've asked for DNA workups on other people to the extent that they don't have them. They weren't done. We can't produce something that doesn't exist.
That's what doesn't exist.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't that they didn't get stuff that you're requesting for stuff that they never did at all.
Correct. So a lot of people are hearing it and saying, we can't give them test results. We never even tested this DNA. And then people are like, wait a minute, they didn't test these 3 unknown male DNAs. They did test them. What he's saying is they asked for additional workups on other people. We cannot provide them because they don't exist. We didn't just do random DNA samples on the people they wanted us to.
Okay, interesting.
Okay, hold on real quick. I'm gonna send this to Shay real quick. So that's a very important piece that I think that a lot are missing, because one, it's so freaking hard to hear anyway, and then they're talking so fast and then you're listening to the whole thing. So 2 were known, the 2 inside. The only unknown was from outside. They want DNA profiles from genealogy they use to find. See, a lot of people are thinking that. The wording is tricky, Rebecca. I understand the wording is tricky, but I am reading it a little differently. And we'll go back to that in just a second. Let me finish this piece, and then I'll definitely bring that back up so you guys can see it again. Man, my friend who got murdered last year in Ohio, Law and Crime just reached out for an interview. Her husband got off basically for not looking at other suspects last month after being locked up for a year. Amanda, did he get off because he's actually innocent, or? Oh, all right. That
is a good question.
Hey, West, justice only comes from a good and fair defense, but I doubt there will be a Perry Mason moment where Ann fingers the real killer during. I agree with you. I think that she's an excellent attorney, and I'm actually very happy that he has such a good attorney, because a lot of the times we're like, what the heck is that attorney even, like, what are they talking about? She is on it. And if anything was to happen or anything is to be wonky, I have no doubt in my mind that she will make sure that he gets a fair trial, and that's what I do want.
Yeah. There's not going to be any insufficient counsel or anything like that when it comes to Ann Taylor.
Okay, let me see. Jeremiah, the lawyers are all DNA samples taken should have been matched to someone. That's not actually the way the law works, though. As much as a jury wants that, the law doesn't work that way. And it's ironic, because the reason the law doesn't work that way, which we're going to go into as well, is actually because of the 4th Amendment, which is the same reason that the defense can't have access to the IGG. So let me see. The prosecution is trying to gaslight the defense. Sorry, but a sheath does not place him at the scene. It only places him with the item. Right. Well, then how does the item that places him with, or how does the DNA that places him with the item also go along with the phone data that places him at the scene, also go along with his car being at the scene. And this is why I said before too, the prosecution's job is to tell the story of the circumstantial evidence and to, in all honesty, sell it to a jury. And if they think that there's too many holes when the full story is being told, that's different than when we look at this in bits and pieces and we don't know the entire story yet. And maybe there's not a lot of pieces that are missing, but all of it being put together, we're filling in our own blanks right now. That's going to be this man's job come trial. And hopefully he can do it. Well, now the other thing is he going to retire? Is he going to stick this thing out? That's a whole nother ball game. I'm not even going to get into that. But
So
okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind. My question was, I don't remember.
Okay. It happens to me all the time. So
Me too. Usually when I'm going to the kitchen, though, I always forget what I'm going in there for.
what you have to do is go back to what you were doing at that moment, and then, or you have Hossein in your chat who is very good at reminding you of exactly what you were doing, because he's always on top of it. Like he'll be like, "Nope, this is what you were doing."
I remembered. Okay.
Go.
Do you guys think that having the gag order with the speculation and like how you had just mentioned, potentially putting our own facts into the empty spots, do you think that has the ability to affect the potential jury pool for them to have the ability to put their own facts into something? Or do you think they're literally, like, how easy is it going to be for them to be able to find someone who's never heard anything about the case?
They don't need to find somebody who's never heard anything. They need to find somebody who, one, doesn't know, isn't us. Let's just be honest. And two, that they can know about the case. They can have heard it. They could have even watched, news segments on it. The question will then become, do you have an already set, like, is it already set in your mind that he did or didn't do this? Because that's really where it comes in. A lot of people think that you can never hear about the case. That's not true. You just have to be able to put that aside and listen to the evidence. And then it's really up to the prosecution and the defense attorneys to determine whether they believe that you can or can't.
Yeah, but like because the part that brought it up in my mind when you just said all the empty spaces we're filling with our own thoughts. So that was my initial question of like, do you think that that's going to cause an issue with the potential jury pool? Is the fact that because there's so many spots that we are able to fill with our own potential beliefs or thoughts, is that going to play like a huge difference in the jury pool? You know what I mean? Just like how it plays a difference in how things are playing out online.
Well, like if they say that because obviously, in my opinion, the majority of this case is obviously going to be circumstantial, which is, pretty common anyway. Mm-hmm. But do you mean like so that there is a gap in the story when the prosecution tells the story? If there's a gap in that timeline or the story itself, the defense can come in, and that's what they're looking for, those holes to be able to present like the reasonable doubt and say, hey, well, what about this, that, and the other? Is that what you mean? So then the jury has to either fill all that in for themselves?
No, more of like, because of the gag order, there's a ton of information that's left out, but we do have like somewhat of an outline of this puzzle. Now, there's obviously pieces of the puzzle missing. And so do you think that aspect of things can cause a bigger issue than just, if it was just limited information due to trial versus the gag order is kind of where I'm going with it. Stop it.
Well, they're not going to, they're not going to, Dexter, you go calm yourself down. We're talking right now. Let the grown-ups speak.
Stop it.
So with the gag order, we're filling in a lot of things because we don't have it, but they're going to have it.
But not the potential for when they are actually picking jurors is kind of my question. So not necessarily the jurors that end up getting chosen, But how are they going, like, do you think it's going to be an issue with how they're going to be able to choose jurors because of the issue of being able to fill these blank spots in is kind of my question.
Oh, I think they will. I think they'll be fine. I mean, if they could find like an unbiased jury in these other trials like Lori Vallow, Daybell, I don't think that they're going to have too much of an issue. I won't be surprised if there's some form of change of venue request that is approved and they either pick a jury from another area or they take the trial to another area. That would not surprise me in the slightest.
Yeah. I want to say back at the very beginning of all of this, there was some talk regarding whether or not they were going to try and move it to a county that was down, like really far down southeast. Well, there was like a specific one where they thought it could be fair or something, and I don't remember exactly what it was off the top of my head, but
I don't know. Well, the chat's talking about the cast records, and I don't know that they don't have the cast records. I'd have to go back through the filings, but I'm not sure that wasn't already disclosed. Hi, Shay Benet.
Hey, T. Candace. Hey, Mel.
hey, Shay.
Hey, beautiful.
Oh my God.
Oh, man, what a day.
I know, that's what we were saying.
My mind's like blown over here.
There's just so much happening today. An unbiased jury doesn't exist. It's a myth. I am actually on the same page with you there, Jeremiah, because once you're on the jury, you have to be very cognizant of the fact that the person who's sitting at the defense table is innocent. But if he's innocent or she's innocent, then how the heck is she sitting at a defense table? Iris, I don't know. It's going to probably be taken back because of the fact that the trial is not happening now. So there might be a cutoff on the discovery as to date, but the investigation can now still continue. There will be supplemental discoveries now that there wasn't going to be if the trial happened in October 2nd. So before I finish this video, Shay, what do you think of him waiving his right to a speedy trial right now? Where'd you go, Shay?
I'm still here. Sorry, it's my audio.
Okay. I wanted to know what you thought. What do you think of him waiving his right to a speedy trial? Oh, shoot, she's gone. All right, we'll ask her when she comes back.
Did she just leave?
Yeah, she said something was up with her audio. So
Her audio, right.
Me, I feel really bad. I don't know the other attorneys' names. I know Ann Taylor and I know Bill Thompson. And the other ones are the additional attorneys, and I just kind of refer to them as such. Shay, you good now?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm having the worst luck with audio recently.
I was asking him, so what do you think of him?
Me?
What do you think of him waiving his right today? Maybe you can't hear us. You might be having an issue with your speaker because I can hear you fine.
Shay?
Candace is like all creepy music back there. What are you listening to?
Yeah, I know. Actually, they're watching. I don't know. What are you guys watching?
Okay.
Skywalker. A Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, that makes sense. Forensics will be key since he's silently denied doing it. He cannot even say where he was. How convenient. The family must be crushed. We'll have to check in just a little bit and see if there's any update on the Gonsalves' family page. Okay, I want to go back to listening to this real quick so we can move on because there's one other clip before I show you guys the info that I had found.
We provided everything. There's one outstanding lab report that relates to the forensic examination by the lab personnel of the crime scene itself. Will be receiving today. That's the only outstanding lab report. Everything else long.
Only outstanding lab report has to do with the lab personnel itself. So that's the only lab report that's outstanding.
All the notes is what there is, and it's been provided to the defense. And if they're hoping that there's something else there, it's not there.
Taylor?
Well, Your Honor, it's part of our third motion to compel. It's still something that we don't have. We also don't have the unexpected corrective actions, unexpected results from the Idaho State Police Forensics Lab.
Okay, so then she goes into talking about the corrective actions of everybody involved in the case, which is not the topic that we're talking about. So we're going to skip over that. I'm going to take you to the next piece that they discussed this 3 unknown male DNAs again.
Not everything that's in every state database goes to the federal system level database.
What are we missing?
Well, I believe at this moment we have all of the reports of the testing from Idaho State Police Laboratory. What?
Okay, so for clarification purposes, she's now asking her witness about why they wouldn't have received this additional testing done. And the witness is going to answer. There's an objection in here. I don't know if I already passed it or not, but basically what she's saying is that I think that we have everything that was done from the state lab. So it's really hard to hear. So hopefully you guys can hear it okay.
I believe was requested and what has not been produced is any direct information or documentation of whether those profiles were uploaded to the state or federal those databases.
I want to talk a little.
Okay, so the witness answers and says, I believe that we've gotten the information from the state lab, but we don't know if it's been uploaded to any of the state databases or the national databases, which is what we were talking about earlier about CODIS. CODIS has the local, has the state, and has the national. So she's saying we've gotten the reports from the lab, which we saw in Ann Taylor's request. It says, we don't know what other testing was done besides the STR profile from the lab.
A little bit about the CODIS database. You said federal or state. There are two.
Well, yes,
50 plus 1.
every state has their own state level CODIS system that's essentially operated through software that's provided by the FBI, I believe, our federal Department of Justice. And each state has its own statutory scheme regarding what can be uploaded, what can't be, and what types of records should be in there. I'm very familiar with California's law. I'm not so familiar with Idaho's law on that issue. And each local crime lab has involved LSEIS. It's the local level database that they can upload things that are not even part of the state system, but that feed into the state system. And then the state level databases feed into the federal database, but because there are different federal rules and statutes around.
Okay, I know this is super hard to hear, so I just want to make, so she's basically just talking about what we had already said. The local database feeds into the state database feeds into the federal database of CODIS. So there's multiple levels of it. So she's just talking about CODIS right now. Shay, is your mic working now, or your speaker? I think it was your speaker.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, totally fine.
Awesome. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, we could hear you. I don't think you could hear us.
That's what it does. It like it looks like everybody's like talking, like I can see the bubble, and then it just stops.
Yeah, I think it was your speaker. So I was asking you, what did you think today when the news came out that he waived his right to a speedy trial?
I was floored because I actually thought they were going to wait till September 8th to do it.
You thought they'd wait till right at the end?
I did, yeah. I did. And I was curious if now going back and thinking through and reading the scheduling document that was put out and what was required by each party.
Like for those specific dates? Uh-oh.
I was gonna say I don't hear her.
Yeah, I know, me either. Uh-oh, Shay.
Oh, Shay.
Ah, Shay.
Ugh, Shay.
Okay, we'll wait a minute and see if she can get that back in action, and we'll keep playing her. And like I said, I know it's hard to hear her. I really wish I had downloaded this to be able to play for you guys. But we'll keep going through it. It's not super long.
Not everything that's in every state database goes to the federal system. So there may be more in Idaho than Idaho actually puts up into the federal database.
Why would we look at it? Why would we want to know if those other three unidentified male profiles have been entered into?
Well, I'm gonna jump in. I believe we resolved this portion for the secretary to see this morning. That was my understanding. I'm not sure for rehashing the previous witness.
Sure, I don't think we resolved it. I don't think we have everything. I don't have an answer from the.
Okay, so she asked her witness, well, why would we not run that? Or why would it be a good idea to run that? The prosecutor, the female prosecutor, pops up and says, hey, I thought this was already resolved. Like, I don't know why we're even still having this conversation, essentially. And Taylor's now saying, I don't think it is resolved. And we need to figure out what else happened with this DNA, these 3 DNA profiles. So they have the profiles, both sides have an STR profile that was created from the crime lab of the 3 unknown males. What they want to know, what Anne wants to know, is what did the lab or law enforcement do with those 3 profiles? Did they put them into CODIS? Did they do IgG on them, investigative genetic genealogy? What did they do with them? So that's what she's trying to figure out.
The state saying we didn't upload those 3 profiles anywhere. We did nothing. If that's the answer, then I mean.
That was the answer.
I thought that had been communicated, and I thought that the lab personnel had communicated that those samples are not eligible to be uploaded to CODIS. It's my understanding that has been communicated to this council.
So you have been told that it wasn't uploaded, so there's no.
Correct.
That wasn't pursued.
Yeah, the samples did not meet the criteria for uploading to CODIS. That's my understanding. And I believe Ms. Jennings is the one who communicated that to Ms. Taylor. She's looking at it.
Okay, so he said the 3 samples. Well, let me back up. So she says if they weren't uploaded to CODIS, then they weren't uploaded to CODIS. But we don't know that. Nobody's told us that nothing happened with the samples. Nobody's told us they didn't do anything with those 3 samples. We just have the data of the samples. So he forgets her name here, though, which is just too much for me. Because he's like, Miss, the attorney or whatever. I was like, oh my gosh, you don't even know her name? Like, that's terrible. He says that from his understanding that, oh, we lost Mallory. Oh no.
Shay said she was going to go get wired earbuds. I don't know if
We
you
didn't
see
lose
that.
Shay, though. We lost Mal. Dexter probably unplugged her. So I don't even know where I was. So I'm gonna take it back just a second. He says that he thought that she was told that those were not uploaded to CODIS, and that Miss Jennings is checking to see if that communication went to Miss Taylor. Let me see that. Maybe I can.
That's what
I don't. I put it now.
Great.
I'm not sure I'm real comfortable with leaving it that way because she heard it before. This isn't a surprise, Judge, and I think it's unfair to characterize it that way.
Well, let's just get past it.
Yes, sir. Fair to do that.
If that's resolved that way, then that's resolved that way. I think it's satisfied. So,
I didn't rewind it far enough for the other one, so I'm going to play it again one more time.
so there's no,
Correct.
that wasn't pursued.
Yeah.
If that's the answer, then, I mean,
That was the answer.
I thought that had been communicated, and I thought that the lab personnel had communicated that those samples are not eligible to be uploaded to CODIS. It's my understanding that has been communicated to this council.
So you have been told that it wasn't uploaded, so there's no.
Correct.
That wasn't pursued.
Yeah, the samples did not meet the criteria for uploading to CODIS. That's my understanding. And I believe Ms. Jennings is the one who communicated that to Ms. Taylor. She's looking at it.
That's fine.
Your Honor, if the answer is that they absolutely have not been uploaded to CODIS, and that's the answer.
That's what
I put it now.
Great. Thanks.
I'm not sure I'm real comfortable with leaving it that way because she heard it before.
Okay, so does that make sense to everybody? She's saying that she has the samples, the STR sample. She didn't know what happened, what LE or the lab did with the samples to run them in any other databases. He's saying she did know, and that Ms. Jennings is the one who sent the communication to her. She's saying, well, this is basically the first I've heard of it, and now that I know, now I know, but I didn't know before. That's the essential behind this, but that doesn't, them not putting it in CODIS doesn't mean they don't have the profiles. They have the profiles. They created the SCR profile and they gave that lab paperwork to the defense. A samples not eligible could be contaminated, inconclusive, could be, but not. So typically, if they have if they have a good sample, they should be fine. But this is kind of where I wanted to go with this. So does that, everybody understand what happened in this hearing part now when it comes to that?
Yes.
Okay. Shay, how's your mic?
Does it sound better?
You sound fine. I think it's like you can't hear us sometimes.
Yeah, you sounded good.
It's something with like the AirPods and my phone. I did a stupid, I think I told you I did a beta thing on my iPhone I should have never done. And so ever since then, I can't fully stay on StreamYard.
Oh.
I'm silly. I need to just reset back to normal.
I hate that when I do updates and all my stuff changes.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
AT was called out, and rightfully so, in my opinion. She was trying to get one over. That's why Thompson was a little testy. I would have been testier. The one thing, though, is he doesn't actually come up with the paperwork that shows that she was given that communication. If he had, then I would have. Oh, Karen called. Freaking Karen. The prosecutor has to do all they can to also find evidence that's exculpatory. Doesn't sound like it if those three DNA samples were not processed carefully and got contaminated or more. So, okay, so let me go into this then. And so, Shay, now that you're actually connected, my original question to you was about your thoughts on him waiving the speedy trial, and you were like, I'm floored, and that's pretty much where we got with that, I think.
Yeah, I was saying I'm floored just because I thought he was going to wait right up until the trial or till September 8th. Okay. That I knew when his alibi was due, but then after going back over the documents that were released yesterday and seeing what was required with that evidence of the alibi, I'm starting to think that may have spooked off the defense. And that's just my opinion on it.
Because of them being required to have to give the alibi information, like witnesses or...
Yes, the details. I don't think that they were equipped for that yet.
Oh yeah, I don't think so either. Well, she says in the motion that she put in about the alibi that they don't currently have any particular witnesses that are going to substantiate his alibi, essentially.
Right. And I don't think that she was expecting the judge to put that in motion, or they were waiting for that and wanting to stay, like you were describing earlier. Even if the IDG thing might not really be a target interest of hers, but she's wanting a stay. Like, she needs more time.
Well, that's my thought. What do you think of that?
Oh, I agree completely. Absolutely. And my question is like, even thinking through this and the DNA stuff that she's pointing out, not that it doesn't matter, but my question is how many other cases do they have to identify every single DNA in a home like that's ever been there? And I see this as very different. Like, if you could explain more and isolate where that DNA is, like, instead of it just being randomly like on a wall in the house, like nowhere near the crime scene, like,
right,
how is that relevant? Like, we have a sheath. Can the law enforcement investigation, can they confirm that the wounds do match that of what the sheath is, you know, for a K-bar knife? Like, that's where I'm kind of at on this. Like, I feel like the sheath is important. I mean, if they can confirm that the wounds do match that, then I think that we're in like a little bit more world apart. So that's just my opinion.
Oh, I agree.
But I was shocked. I really was. I thought it was going to wait just a little bit. And I feel bad for the families because this is a long, long waiting process now.
Well, and now there's not even an end in sight. They don't even have a trial date.
All
right. So what
closure.
do you two think of this part of the hearing where they're talking about these 3 unknown male DNAs not being entered into CODIS? What do you think of that? And then Candace, what do you think of that?
Again, I think it just, to me, I want to know why they weren't entered, and if the reasoning is because of the relative, like, to the location compared to the crime scene. That piques my interest right there. I want to know more. I mean, I think that the state needs to dot all their I's and cross all their T's. They don't want anything left out like this open.
True. What do you think, Candace?
To be honest with you, I think like they probably already know who it is. I think that they're trying to pull as much as they can over on it. There isn't stuff that we need to know every little thing that they're trying to pull as much as they can. There isn't stuff that we need to know.
Okay, I'm going to put a poll. I want to see what the chat thinks too. Go ahead, Shay.
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah. Were you about to say something?
Oh, no. I wasn't. I was just listening.
Okay. I'm gonna put a poll up and see what you guys think it's important that we know who those 3 are. Candace, you think they actually already know who they belong to?
Yeah, I do. I think they're just saying they don't. There's a reason they're not telling us everything.
Well, I also think it's interesting that he said it wasn't eligible to be put into CODIS. Not that it was never put into CODIS.
That's what I'm saying. There's a reason that it's not being known. Like, they're covering it up.
Okay, I'm going to put this up real quick.
Sorry, I had to get out of the room so you didn't hear their weird, creepy music off their movie.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, so I just put like the 3 unknown DNA. Is it important to know who those belong to? Yeah, Judge isn't going to tolerate games. I agree. Okay, so I was doing some research, and I think I saved my things out of order, but we're going to figure it out, so it's okay. About what does it mean to be eligible to go into CODIS? And so this is something that Iris actually brought up. Like, they have to be interpretable. they have to actually be enough of a profile that they can actually get put into CODIS. Otherwise, they have to have a certain amount of matches. And I'm not going to go into the DNA side of it again, because then we're going to be here for another 2 hours. But they take an STR profile, which is what the crime lab does again. The SNP profile for genealogy cannot be uploaded into CODIS. It only matches to the STR profiles. Wist has a good question. What is the criteria for inclusion in CODIS? Oh, there you go. Here we go. So CODIS eligibility. The DNA results are interpretable. You have to be able to have enough information in there. The reference samples are accurate and complete, right? They have to have the same thing. Forensic unknown, forensic mixture, or forensic partial DNA records submitted to, this is CODIS, remember this is just the national one, shall originate from and or be associated with a crime scene, the source of which is attributable to the putative perpetrator. This is the key part here on why I believe, and I'm not an attorney, I am not a lab tech, I am not an expert. This is my interpretation of the information. So once again, you can agree to disagree with me. I still love all of you. I'm okay with it. My understanding is then the crime scene itself, why I think it's important to know where the other DNA in the house was found is if it's found on a beer can and it's a party house, it is not attributable to the perpetrator. If it's on the refrigerator door, if it's on Bethany's, door in her room, places that the perpetrator was not known to have been.
Well, that aligns with what I was saying. You just say it better.
Well, I said it from a text, so it wasn't even me.
No, that makes sense though. I mean, that was what I was wondering is like, if you look at this case and compare it to others, like, is what is happening, is this normal and natural? Like, are they required to identify every piece of DNA in a home? I mean, you could only imagine.
Can you imagine how long it took them?
Oh, yeah.
For every DNA that's happened in there, they could probably still be figuring out who some people are. If it was in a party house as bad as they say it was.
Well, let me put these down real quick. And I'll show you guys something that was in
for the 6 months before.
I want to play you in her motion, and it says in here about that they have, so they don't know, they're unaware of what sort of testing, if any, was conducted on these samples other than the STR DNA profiles. So the state did their job. They collected the evidence. They ran the test. They got the profile. And then they realized that they're males, because I mean that's pretty obvious when there's a Y chromosome and that pops up on a DNA. So they know that they're male DNA. They were not identified through CODIS. While this was ongoing, police were investigating many various possible suspects. This is in her paperwork. Many of them provided DNA. This is going to be the boyfriends, the family members, people that they need their DNA to be able to rule out, and know exactly where they were in the house. So when we think of these 3 unknown additional, male DNAs, where was I going? When we think of the 3 additional male DNAs, they're not going to be attributed to like Jack or Jake, the boyfriends that we would assume that you would find their DNA in the house. Ethan's, obviously they have his. You know what I'm saying? So they're gonna collect all of that and just rule it out. So they're not unknown at this time. But what she does say in here is while it was ongoing, one of the suspects, they had gotten his DNA surreptitiously taken from a discarded cigarette. So they were going around and getting DNA of all the people that they thought could have been a perpetrator. So she's kind of counteracting her own point here. She's saying they did. They were looking at other possible suspects. They even went out and collected DNA to prove that it was or wasn't him, this other person. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I agree.
All right, let me pull this back up. I think I'm on this one.
That's why I have a hard time following Anne. Like, I feel like she's like, because of the gag order, she speaks to the public through her orders and court and notions. And so
She speaks in circles.
Yeah, I
It's like a
mean,
maze understanding her. I understand what she's saying. Like, I feel like it's like you have to have this little key to understand what she's trying to say.
yeah, and I understand she's doing her job. Like, she has to sow reasonable doubt, but without us like seeing all the information and say that, like, if you're one that believes that the PCA is only 10% of what is out there, I mean, I actually believe it's even a smaller fraction of the information they have. And one of my biggest like hangups has been the 51 terabytes of data. Like, what all is in there? I
So
want
I'm
to
not the
know.
only one that's caught up on that. Okay, because I'm like, that is a lot. I need to know. I want a little bit of what they know. I don't need all of it. I mean, I'd
Yeah.
like to see all of it, but just a little bit would be nice.
And I agree. And I'm wondering that if Anne feels that because of some of the IGG stuff being like, I would say newer to the technology and test field for the court system, if this is where she's able to fight the hardest, you know what I mean? Because there is some room for precedent and case law to be set for the future with this technology development. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
And that's where I feel like she has her wiggle room.
Well, kind of. But that's if they were trying to present the case and saying, hey, we're matching him based on the IGG, she would have a lot more wiggle room. But that's not what she's trying to say that's what it is. But the prosecution's like, no, we're presenting our case based on all these other factors.
Right. And I think that's what gets people hung up on that. And I understand that. But I do get the point too, where, like, say you felt like you needed to know the information of the family tree makeup. I am a better understanding of, like, that's not really the tip that led them to him, but also that whoever those people are that may have provided their DNA through whatever testing sites, etc., then they kind of pseudo become an informant, you know? And they have to have their identities protected.
That's essentially what they are. They are an informant.
Wow.
Like if I call in a tip anonymously and I say, hey, I saw Brian Koberger driving, right here at this specific time, and they go follow up and they find the evidence that backs up that he was driving right there at that time, I'm anonymous. So what's the evidence? Is the evidence my call and my tip, or is the evidence the witness or the surveillance that they found of him actually driving in that area?
Good point.
The tip isn't the witness, which is what IGG is. So let's see. Is there anything about the glove that was found outside by another YouTuber? Yeah, so that's actually one of the 3 unknown male DNAs. That's because there's no laws on IGG yet. There's a very minimal standard, and they are going through state by state and trying to create some laws now on what can and can't be done with IGG in criminal cases. But you're talking years down the road. So right now it's kind of just open for interpretation and decision making by the judge. So he can decide whatever he wants. Okay, so the information derived from the forensic DNA records that are unambiguously attributed to a victim or individuals other than the perpetrator, such as an elimination sample, shall not be offered into NDIS. This essentially is saying if I went and got Jack's DNA, I can't just go running it into CODIS. I can't take Jack's DNA and run it into CODIS because he was, a person who was with her, and his DNA would be found on her, unless I believe he's the perpetrator. And I'm just using him as an example, so take it for what you want. For purposes of the eligibility, an item taken directly from a suspect shall not be considered a forensic sample. So I cannot take the blood of one of these victims, the DNA from one of these victims, and put it into CODIS and see if they committed any crimes. Does that make sense? So like they're not eligible. I can't take the victim and say, hey, you actually committed all these crimes. And now, even though you're dead, I can at least close all these cases. Can't do that.
Right.
Investigative genetic genealogy is not necessarily a scientific process. The scientific process behind it is the SNP. The IgG is not the scientific part of it. Genetic genealogy is not the scientific part. It's the lab part that would be the scientific part. So there's two parts to it, which is why it makes it tricky, in my opinion. Because the genealogist isn't a scientist. The genealogist isn't creating the SNP. The genealogist is the one that's creating the tree.
They're reading the results. Yeah, creating the tree.
So that's what makes it like, so the scientist is still, once again, it's in the lab, but it's not admissible in court anyway. So it doesn't, I mean, science or not, it's still, it's not part of the hearing. Okay, let me go to the next one. Okay, so this just gives I put some examples of like what, or I grabbed some like examples of like what can be put in there. So which DNA profiles can be entered into CODIS? So from a blood stain on a suspect shirt that matches the victim. The victim's DNA profile cannot be entered into CODIS. We were just talking about that. So I can't take the victim's DNA and run it to see if they did it, if they were bad and committed crimes. So this kind of goes to Jeremiah's point. I'll go to the next one and you guys can.
Could this be a possibility that those other three unknown DNAs had a mixture of the victims on them?
Go ahead, say that one more time.
The 3 unknown DNAs, could those be not eligible because maybe they had a mixture of the victims on them?
No, so the 3 ineligible DNA samples, the 3 unknowns,
right,
are, in my opinion, based on the fact that it's not from the potential perpetrator, which is what they got the DNA from on the knife sheath. They have the STR profiles. They're single source DNAs.
Okay.
So which means the single source is that it comes from one person. So that then it's their own DNA. Does that make sense? It's not mixed with the victims or anybody else's. It's theirs. It's just they're not. The problem with the DNA is they're not identifying to who it belongs to.
Right.
Because they can't go putting it into CODIS all willy-nilly and just be like, hey, you know, here it is. Because now you once again you run into, you know, Fourth Amendment issues. So somebody who is walking outside of this crime scene and drops a glove, just because they drop their glove outside of a crime scene doesn't mean they're the perpetrator. So now I'm going to go put their DNA into CODIS.
Yeah, that's not fair.
Right. That's right. So now I'm going to just go and solve all kinds of crimes because I'm just going to pick up stuff from everywhere and start putting it into CODIS. You can't do that. So that's why I'm saying where the DNA was found in the house is actually more important to me than that they found unknown DNA. If the DNA is from a beer bottle or a beer can that's in the trash, is it relevant to the crime? If the DNA is from Maddie's doorknob, is it relative to the crime? But we don't know. We don't know that answer. So we can't necessarily say that it's relevant. So that's why I'm like just taking a, you know, my best guess. And if they're saying it's not eligible, why it's not eligible. This is why I think. Because
I appreciate that you're doing that. It's helpful.
Let's see. Remember, the FBI admitted under oath in Congress to illegally using the genealogy data to violate the Fourth Amendment. Yes, and so that's when, so the DOJ ended up putting some of the baseline criteria in for what is okay and what isn't, and that's when GEDmatch actually changed and made it so law enforcement had their own access to the database, and they took out GEDmatch to begin with was just an open source, and that's where they started using it, and nobody had. That's when it was a violation of the Fourth Amendment because they didn't know. They didn't know that their information could be accessed by law enforcement to catch these people, like the Golden State Killer, like William Talbot, like April Tinsley's killer. They didn't know that their stuff was being used that way. So what happened after that then is they went in, GEDmatch went in and changed it where you have to select that your stuff can be used for law enforcement. Now, once again, we talked about this on the other live. That's just a terms of service thing. It's not an illegal thing if it's the genealogist that's doing it. This is where because the genealogist, if it's a third party, they're not contracted necessarily. I see that there's so many lines that need to be drawn that I think that that's important. That we don't have those lines, and they definitely need to be there. Okay, so this kind of goes to the cigarette butt. So can you take a DNA profile and enter it into CODIS from a cigarette butt found next to a campsite where a sexual assault occurred? It's an unknown DNA profile. Can you put that into CODIS? This kind of goes to what Jeremiah was talking about, is you can't just go and take things from public places that are just because a crime happened there. This goes more along the lines of, if we're looking at like the glove, you can't just go running it into CODIS. But his case that he's specifically talking about, that person, they weren't giving up their DNA, so they actually went in and violated that person's rights and took the DNA. So that's why it really depends. You can take the DNA, but you can't just go run it into CODIS and try to solve crimes with it. So no, it's not clear that the person who smoked that cigarette committed the crime of the sexual assault. The profile must belong to the putative perpetrator. Not clear how long the cigarette butt has even been there. So you can't just go willy-nilly taking people's stuff and putting it into CODIS and trying to solve crimes. Let me show you the next one. So, for instance, a blood stain that's found on a broken window of a house that was burglarized. The homeowners say that the window was intact when they left the night before. So you have an unknown DNA profile for a burglary. Can you take the DNA from the broken window and put it into CODIS? Yes, because it's most likely from the perpetrator. So it's eligible to be searched in CODIS. The DNA has to be associated with a criminal to be in that database. Not necessarily. So the DNA has to be associated with, it could be associated with an unsolved crime, which would still be a criminal, but not a convicted one. It could be associated with somebody who has committed a felony and they're now in CODIS. So there's also CODIS that's called NDIS MP for missing persons. So like if my child was to go missing, I could enter my DNA into CODIS. So then that way, if somebody is found and their DNA is collected, it can be run in CODIS against that. Okay, you guys have any questions so far?
Not me. No, I'm following you.
Okay.
I'm just
No, I'm
fascinated
good.
right now.
Okay, so this one, yes, they would put the DNA from the broken window into CODIS. I think I did that one twice. Hold on. Okay, so a vaginal swab from a victim that matches the suspect. The suspect admits to sexual contact. So yes, you would put that into CODIS if the investigator believes that a crime has occurred. So they have to, this is when you, and I don't want to go too far into like SA, but if they believe that a rape happened and the rape kit is done and they believe that somebody was assaulted, they could go in, take that sample and put it into CODIS, which is what I actually believe is most likely what happened with Rachel Morin too. So there's a vaginal swab, unknown male DNA owner or male donor, no suspect in the case. Yes, the profile is eligible to be put into CODIS because law enforcement believes that they are the perpetrator. So let me see here. This is another important one, I think, for the case that we're talking about. I just got to find the right slide. So seminal fluid stains that are matching the suspect collected from the suspect's apartment, the scene of a sexual assault. So if I'm at their apartment and I'm assaulted, they can't just go around taking all the semen samples that they want to, because his DNA, his semen can be in his house. Does that make sense? They have to get his DNA somewhere else, somewhere on me, after they think that I was actually sexually assaulted.
Mm-hmm.
But they can't just go getting his old bed sheets and getting his stuff off of it and putting it into CODIS.
That makes sense.
Iris, yes, touch DNA is allowed, because touch DNA, even though it is one of the harder ones to be able to create the STR profile, as long as you can create the STR profile in its entirety that's needed to go into CODIS, then yes, touch DNA can go into CODIS. 10 years ago, it wouldn't even be a question. The answer would be no. So let's see. So here is this one. Is it this one? Yep. So now if I'm assaulted in my own apartment, take the semen collected and run it for DNA in my own apartment or my own house or my own bed. Because that it shouldn't be there. Let me find the next one.
And I understand why they have these parameters. I mean, they want to protect people too, so they're not wrongfully convicted of something, you know, just going about everyday life.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why it makes sense to me, like why they wouldn't. If I think that it would make these samples would become more eligible, specifically like maybe the glove, and like once again, we don't know where the other 2 DNA samples came from. It would make more sense if they were eligible if there wasn't a sheath. The sheath is to a K-bar. The victims are killed with a K-bar knife. That that is the potential perpetrator right there.
Right.
So now you kind of flush out these other people, and then your entirety of your investigation is showing that this guy wasn't, like, these guys weren't all killed at a party. So now we don't really need DNA from a beer. Oh, bye, Candace.
Oh no.
Coming back, chat. I'm terrible about looking at that.
No, she didn't say anything.
Okay.
She may have fell off.
Okay. What was I saying?
I agree, Ava. That's the proximity matters.
Yes. So, and the rest of the investigation, that's what I was saying. So, like, if these guys aren't killed during a party, the people who find, or when you find DNA of people on beer cans, that's not necessarily what needs to be run through CODIS.
Right. I think a lot of times, like, you know, if people, if they're not used to like reading a lot of court docs, or, you know, followed a bunch of cases in this, you know, to this degree or like extent and point of time, like it's easy to take something and interpret it and go wild with it, you know. That's why, like, I try to be really calm when I'm reading over the documents and understanding like this is a process that both sides have to go through, and to not let my emotions get like the best of me, you know, and jump to conclusions.
Well, sometimes I'll have to read things like 3 or 4 times, and like even when like the documents come out, like I always tell, like, I like to listen to somebody else read them. I like to read them, and I also like to read them out loud. It helps me like absorb the information.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Me too.
Iris asked, did they get enough to create a profile and allow defense to do their own testing? Well, they had to have, because that's what's required. And then they had to have even more than that, because they had to send out another piece of that sample to the lab that did the testing for the SNP. Okay. You want to come back, Candace? I'll drop the link again for you if you want to. I think this is one of my last couple of slides.
You're doing great. I really appreciate this.
Did we finish this one? I don't even know if we finished this one. I'm glad that you appreciate it. It was, this was what my life was supposed to be about at the beginning, but then I got so flustered that I was like, no, it's okay. I got so flustered because I was just like, they found that little boy, Josiah Mitchell. They found him, which I found out when I was on the live. And then the stuff with him, I literally was listening to the intro while I was going live, and it popped up on Twitter that he waived his right. And I was like, just like all over the place. And then everybody else came up to like save me because I was so flustered that I couldn't even figure out my own name at that point. so many things happening at once, and I was like, this is crazy.
I know, and I was messaging you before I was taking my mom to get her car, and it was just like information overload.
It was, and I'd already been listening to all this stuff, just from today with like the shooter in Pennsylvania and the stuff going on with the Russian guy and his plane being shot down, and then the possibility of North Korea sending stuff over to, or shooting missiles at Japan. I was like, this is too much. I can't handle all of this.
It's so true. I was actually stuck on the Boone thing, and then I'm getting messages from Jamie, Texas chick, about Brian Koberger, and I'm like, what? Like, it was all like in the same like 30 minutes, of it happening. My mind was just like boggled.
Yeah, and that's like all happening like right when I went live. And so thank gosh, like Mallory and Candace and Crime Sleuthin, they were like, we'll come and save you. Thistle was like, somebody needs to save her. K-Bray said, so if you get a warrant for an apartment, you have to put everything that you're going to look for or is it just a free-for-all, anything that's inside the door? Okay, this is a more complex question. It depends on what the warrant is for. So if I have a warrant to go in and find a rifle, I can't go look in places that a rifle would not fit. I don't have the right to do that. So now we're talking about just search warrants in general. So it's a complicated question.
It's a yes and no.
It's a yes and a no, like both answers. So yeah, I have to be able to, now if I walk into the apartment and I'm looking for the rifle and I see a whole bunch of cocaine sitting on the coffee table, it's in plain view, I can check that. But I can't go looking in like tiny crevices to try to find something that's illegal if I'm in there looking for something that's the size of a rifle.
Right. And you remember whenever they were serving the search warrant for Brian Koberger's apartment in Pullman, Washington, one of the investigators found keys that looked to be to a storage unit. So they couldn't just take those keys and go to the storage unit. They had to call the judge, right, and then give a probable cause of why that they thought that they may need access to that. He had to approve that, and then they could try to, go check out and see what was in that storage unit, which apparently was nothing.
Right, but they can't just go, hey, we found these keys, so now it can take us over there.
Right.
And also, if they're looking for, a helicopter, they can't go into a storage unit that's like a 4x4.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously very extreme, but you see what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So K-Braze, I hope that kind of answers your question, but no, you can't just go in there all willy-nilly and take whatever the hell you want. Now, you can request that your search warrant is for basically the entirety of it because you don't know what you're looking for. So I want to look for through the entirety of the apartment. And so, but I have to have probable cause of why I think that. Now, if I'm Brian Koberger, I'm most likely their search warrants are, I'm going to go in there and look for tech stuff, that could show any, relationship with him and the victims. I'm going to go in there looking for the murder weapon. I'm going to go in there, with a specific list of types of things that I'm looking for, not just, or they could have just been like, hey, we think that there could be proof, or, he's our guy and we want to go in there and look at the stuff. Just depends on what it is and how they write it. Okay, so a male profile is developed from a vaginal swab. The investigator knows who the suspect is and that his profile is already in CODIS as a convicted offender sample. Can the CODIS profile be used for comparison for this case? No, can't. Can't just go, once again, throwing it in there all willy-nilly. You think you know who it is, then go find out who it is and get the sample, which is what we're talking about here, really. The collection of samples from arrestees and or convicted offenders goes through a different process to be entered into CODIS. It doesn't follow a chain of custody, as does evidence submitted at a crime lab, and is inadmissible in court. A new sample must be collected from the suspect for the purposes of comparison and reporting. This is essentially saying you can't go and say, hey, you were arrested, here's your DNA, I'm going to go throw it into CODIS, when it doesn't actually go through the crime lab to be able to put it in there. Their chain of custody would be off. Iris says Moscow has a contract with Othram Lab, so they can't be a third-party independent. Moscow Police Department? Moscow Police Department has a contract with Othram Lab? So you like to throw out stuff that I don't have. I have no good answer for you. I don't know that. Why would Moscow Police Department have a contract with Othram Lab?
Everything would go through Idaho State Police Forensics Lab.
But like Moscow Police Department, like they're like nobodies. Well, thanks, Leslie. I appreciate that. But I do want to clarify, I am no expert in any of these topics. I'm giving you my interpretation of the information that I have. So, all right, I think there is, I think that might be it. Oh, I have when the match is made. So you guys can just see this just because. Once a match is identified by the CODIS software, the laboratories involved in the match exchange information to verify the match and establish coordination between their two agencies. The match of the forensic DNA record against the DNA record in the database may be used to establish probable cause to obtain an evidentiary DNA sample from the suspect. The law enforcement agency can use this documentation to obtain a court order authorizing the collection of the known biological reference sample from the offender. So comparing this to Idaho, if you have Brian's STR profile. They went to the trash, got the trash, were hoping to get Brian's DNA from the trash, but they ended up with Pop's DNA. Right? So now they still need a direct one-on-one comparison. So they still get a direct sample from him, and then they compare it to the STR profile they have from the sheath. They still can't just use dad's DNA and that be it. So if you guys want to look at where this stuff came from, I will post the link too, so you guys have it. If I can find it. It's from the FBI. It's their fact sheet on CODIS and how it works. So if you guys are interested in reading through it, I'll post it in the description too. I just kind of took out the chunks that I thought were like the most important too, and then try to talk about those while showing you guys these. Hold on, I was trying to get in here so I could add it to the back.
I'd say it's really, some of it's like really heavy material, especially whenever you're wanting answers and there's like 80 pages and stuff. Right.
So there could be other stuff in there that you guys are like, I think this is more important than the crap that I grabbed out, which is totally fair too. So that's why I'm like, go read it, and I'll put in. I'm gonna add it to the description really quick too, so you guys have it. So okay, so what questions do you guys have? I mean, does this help? Does it explain why those particular profiles were not eligible to be put into CODIS? For at least the glove, maybe. The other two are hard because we don't know where they were found. Now, what do you think, Shay?
Can you repeat that question? Sorry, it cut out.
Like in general, like, does it make more sense, like why those other ones weren't put into CODIS? And yeah. I think it would help us a lot if we actually knew where the two inside the house were actually found to know why they're not eligible.
No, that's super helpful. I actually had started making a list of some questions I had, and I was wanting to look at the CODIS ineligibility pointers just to kind of better understand. So I'm so glad you went over that, and it made perfect sense to me. Now, I understand that we don't know all the information, but at least sheds a little bit of light so you don't feel so much in the dark, you know? that something's just being thrown out because it's willy-nilly. Like there's parameters there. There's
I also think it's
standards.
important that, like, listening to what he said, he's not saying that they don't have any information on these particular things. He's saying that the defense asked for other DNA samples and they don't have those, so they can't give them DNA samples of people they never collected DNA from.
That's true.
So I guess we'll see. I don't know. I'm so frustrated that we're not going to have a trial in October now. Even though I thought forever we weren't going to have one, I finally was like, oh, we're here. We're going to actually do it.
You thought we were?
Well, I didn't for a long time. I didn't think that we were until very recently when I was like, this is we're building some momentum. They're setting some dates that are going to be really important. That why would they waste their time doing all this just to come back in here and waive it, right? And I was like, what did they still do? I don't know. I think I was getting my hopes up that we were actually going to there was an end in sight here.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, I thought that by the time that they provided the alibi that, that meant that they were ready to just move forward, I didn't expect it to take such a turn like it did.
I think they knew that it was going to happen because the Gonsalves family was like, say a prayer for us today.
Well, I mean, because I'm sure their lawyer would have to kind of give them a heads up that certain things are being discussed, right? And the possibility of that.
Well, especially if they were already given the motions or the idea. When they said they didn't bring a waiver, so that's also interesting that the judge had to give them the waiver because they didn't already have it filled out.
I know. I'm reading the waiver right now.
Oh, you know what? Hold on. Crime Sleuthen said that she was uploading that. So let's see if she did. She was going to take out all the commercials and stuff. She didn't know when it would be up though. So let's just take a look at her channel real quick and maybe we can actually watch it before we go.
Oh, for the hearing today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully she got it. No, it doesn't look like it's up yet. Dang it, Crime Sleuthen. All right, so if you guys want to watch it, she said she edited out all the commercials and that kind of stuff. So make sure. Oh, it's uploading and taking a bit. No worries, honey. I appreciate it. Just make sure. While I'm in here, let me grab Crime Sleuthen's link. I went to set up Nightbot and I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing it right.
I hear everybody has like different, issues with Nightbot.
Here, this is Crime Sleuthen's channel. You guys want to watch it after she uploads it? Make sure you guys hop over there and you guys can watch it. I'm not gonna probably stay on that much longer anyway. But I thank you guys. So some of you guys are like, nope, we need more evidence. We need more evidence. That's just the bottom line. I think Jeremiah said like there has to be blood in his car. There has to be some type of cross, like Lockhart's exchange principle is basically you bring something into a crime scene, you're also taking something from a crime scene. That's the essential behind it, that they have to have evidence going both ways to make it where you feel very solid on that this is the person who did it. Oh, Tribe Crime Crazy, I adore you. Thank you.
So for Lori de Belvallo, I didn't really follow as closely near the end just because I just got so disgusted with the case and her in general. Did they have a media gag order till the very end on hers?
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Because that's like my contention. I think I heard you guys talking about it earlier. Was like, does all this gag order stuff stay in place? And
this is non-dissemination order. So let me see. So I know that the media was banned because of the same kind of concept of zooming in on Lori and then creating it where she wasn't going to have a fair trial, which didn't make sense to me why the trial couldn't be aired then. In Lori Gallo. So that's what they had a media block for that, but I don't recall the non-dissemination orders.
Yeah.
I'm looking it up real quick just to see if it can jog my memory. I don't have a good answer for you.
No, it's fine. I'm just kind of curious because I think it'll just cause more room for speculation. But hey, even if people, had everything in front of them, I mean, people believe what they believe, I don't think that, I feel like if he was truly innocent, why would he still want to be sitting behind bars now?
Right. Well, this is what I was saying. Like, if he has an alibi and he can say, hey, this is the person who saw me here, or this is surveillance of me being there, you wouldn't wait till like court to show that. You would just show it to the prosecutor and be like, hey, we have this. Like, he wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you wouldn't just wait and be like, oh, we're going to play games with it and see, it doesn't make any sense to me. You wouldn't just sit there for no reason. Nothing is uploaded on the Latah District Court. Somebody asked, why are they asking for the DNA then? She's asking for the information related to the investigative genetic genealogy. She specifically asked for names and addresses of all of his closest matches, which I just think is absurd. There's no way in the world she should ever have the names and addresses of all those people. I don't even think the prosecution necessarily has to have that. They have to have the final result and how they got there, but I don't think that they need the people's names and addresses. You call them to testify? What do you think? That doesn't make any sense. Like we were talking earlier, like they're like an informant.
Right.
And then the other DNA that she's asking about is the 3 unknown male profiles that were found at the house, that people keep going back and forth on whether the 2 are known and 1 is unknown. And her wording makes it very hard to understand if it is. I believe they're all unknown based on the fact that she wants to know if they ran them against CODIS. If she knows who it is, then she doesn't need it run against CODIS. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that my mind goes that then they would have to be unknown. Otherwise, they wouldn't be important to her because she would already know who they were. She's trying to figure out who they are.
Yeah, I think another way to sow reasonable doubt. I mean, that's her job. It's what she needs to do. But if, if they actually, as they say, they do have him on camera, he admits that he's out driving as his alibi. Like, that's a tough road ahead. I think that, it's one thing to say that somebody's around a parameter of a crime scene than to put him inside in that crime scene. And that's what that sheet does. And I think that's really hard to dispute. And I think the best way for her to dispute that would be looking for any kind of technicality from procedural failures, chain of custody, things like that. And that's just my opinion.
I absolutely agree with you. And Iris and Jet is like very firm on like how much she hates touch DNA, which I get. If anything, go after the process of the type of DNA that they had and what happens with it. Why go after the IgG? Go after the source. Where did you get the DNA? How did you get it? How did you replicate it? Did you replicate it?
Mm-hmm.
How much did you have? That's what I'm thinking, is hit that closer with the experts than giving 2 shits about the IgG. I don't know. That's why I think the IgG was just to try to get the stay. That's my thought.
I agree with you. But I thank you for having me up. I'm going to jump down so I get dinner going.
Yeah, no, I got to do the same thing. So I appreciate you very much. I appreciate you coming up. And I know that, I don't know if Mallory's still here, Candace, Crime Sleuthin, thank you guys for coming up earlier. You guys have any final thoughts you want to share, Shay, before you hop down?
I think taking in everything today, I'm going to keep the families, all families, including the victims and Brian's families, in my thoughts, because I think this is a long process ahead. I want justice for the victims, most of all. And obviously, I don't think all of us don't want a wrongful conviction by any part. So I just hope that they are swift and efficient and accurate through this process so everyone can be able to find some closure in this,
Oh, yes. That's perfect.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Thanks, T.
All right. Thank you, Shay.
Bye, love.
Bye, honey. Hey, MK. I've been ear hustling. Every day I'm hustling. All right, Crime Sleuth, and I'm going to check it one more time, see if it's up, and then I'm going to wrap it up so I can go help with dinner. How much longer? How much longer? Otherwise, we could just watch it on your channel. I mean, I put the link in. I can put the link in again, so everybody, if you guys want to watch it, you'll know where to watch it. Thank you, Jeremiah. I appreciate it. Thank you, Shay. Thank you, Hippie Chick. Thank you, Corey. Thank you guys all. Like, if you guys want to watch it, I'm going to put the link in here one more time. I think I got to grab it again because I already copy and pasted something else. So let me grab it one more time. She says it'll be done in about 5 minutes. So if you guys want to watch it, go take a gander of it over there. I hope that this helped. I know I was flustered. I apologize. I went totally off track at the beginning of this just with the news that popped out on multiple fronts. But I hope that it ended with what you guys came for. So I will talk to you guys very soon. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday. I haven't made a full decision on that yet. You know, this is a lot of lives in a row. So I'm not used to it. But I appreciate each and every single one of you for taking the time to be here. As I always tell you, I know that you could be in 1,000 other places and you choose to spend your time here with me. And I appreciate each and every one of you for doing it. Whether you agree, whether you disagree, as long as you're kind, that's all I care about. Have a good one, everybody.